Injustice is a huge, massive hit for WB Games and a huge, massive hit for DC Comics. So of course when Injustice 2 came out, the storyline of Injustice needed to continue within the world of comics. So before we get to the Injustice 2 game, we need to see what happened in the Injustice 2 comic series. The timeline gets a little wonky, but it seems to be taking place before the Injustice 2 title. I hope you guys enjoy today's full story.
Superman sits in his cell. It didn't have to be this way. This war, all of the pain, all the lives lost. I think it could have been different. If you had just been a friend. Batman stands outside of the cell looking in. I'm not to blame for the blood on your hands, Clark. Superman stands up, hitting the cell. Oh, you sanctimonious ass! I'm supposed to be the alien and you're the one incapable of human response. He sits back down with blood on his knuckles as he's currently depowered. What we could have achieved together, Bruce, but you turned your back on me. Well, you won. The world is yours. I don't want the world, Clark. I want to repair what you tore apart. A world in Batman's vision? That's a truly terrifying thought, and no one is left to tell you the truth. Superman looks back in his cell as he continues. Alfred is gone. All of your Robins gone. Dick, Tim, Jason, Damian. You failed them all. Batman is hurt enough as he turns and walks out. Goodbye, Clark. That's it. Turn your back on me. In the end, you'll seek the ultimate control like you always do, because you're just a scared child trying to stop 2 bullets. He walks out to Harley Quinn sitting there. Ouch. That line about a scared child trying to stop 2 bullets? Cold. And then she offers him a cupcake. I actually had 2 cupcakes. You'll never guess what happened to the other one. You ate one. Truly, you are the world's greatest detective. They walk outside as Bruce admits to Harley that he has his shortcomings. He knows that he'll need help in rebuilding this world. Then as Harley gets on her motorcycle, he looks at her. Harley. It's okay, Bats. I know what you're gonna ask. You've lost so many people close to you. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I won't change my outfit or let me call you your sidekick. Let me make a call and I'll decide if you can call me Robin. She heads over to the Arrow Cave, well, the Quiver. She renamed the former home of Oliver Queen. And then she makes a phone call to the caretaker of her child, the one that she had long ago and sent away. It's her daughter's birthday, and she just wanted to say hi. And that's when the wall explodes next to her. In walks Amanda Waller. Quinzel, I'm Director Waller. Your crimes against... She begins rubbing her ears. What? I said. Yeah, no, it's no good. That was a really big explosion unless your actual voice is a high-pitched whine. Waller turns to leave. Take her, Flag. Harley holds up her hands. Whoa, 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 whoa! And she steps backwards and then takes another step before hopping on her motorcycle. She races off, calling for Batman to help, but a shot is fired, hitting her and dropping her off of her bike. She crashes into the wall and Deadshot reports that he got her. She wakes up and she finds herself strapped to a medical table complaining that her head hurts, and Flag explains that they've attached an explosive to her neck. Waller then continues. Batman may have forgiven you for your crimes, but the government hasn't. Welcome to the Suicide Squad. Elsewhere, at another time and place, another dimension, a young boy tells a man in a funny helmet not to move. In front of him is Dr. Fate. Carter Lance Queen, you were a baby when I brought you here. I need to speak with your parents. And then thunk! A sucker arrow hits his helmet. He lowers his arms and he looks at the ground. Right. He walks into the cabin in the woods and he simply asks Dinah and Oliver to ask their son to please stop shooting him in the head. And Oliver looks at the back of the helmet to see them all together. Good grouping. In his defense, the helmet makes for a shiny target. Dr. Fate removes his helmet. This helmet is not a shiny target. It holds untold power. And Oliver tells his son, enough. Dinah then asks, why is he even here? And he looks at his helmet. I know that I was wrong to bring you to this universe, Dinah, to work against Fate. The helmet grows heavier. Oliver and Dinah both agree that this doesn't look good. Fate holds up his hand with the powers growing within it. Black Canary was supposed to die, and she sonic screams back at him. Dr. Fate is thrown through the back wall and out onto the grass, where he stops his momentum, telling her no. Arrows begin to fly down in his direction as he breaks them using his spells. So Oliver tells her, hey, pretty bird, the black one. Dr. Fate races into the air telling them to stop, and Oliver fires and it goes through the magical shield into Fate's hand. He floats back down to the ground in pain as Oliver explains, haha, magic arrow. Bet that stings. He then walks over, tearing it out of Fate's hand, and Fate once again tells him, wait, you misunderstand. I'm not here to hurt you. You said that Dinah was supposed to die. Yes, she was. But then I fought against Fate itself to save her. I'm here with an offer. It's over, Dinah Lance. It's safe to return to your world. Superman is defeated. The Batman won, and now he wants to rebuild. He needs your help. Both of you. He needs heroes. Back over with Harley Quinn, she's laughing her butt off as she begins to free herself.
Are you stupid? I'm friends with bats now. The guy wants to call me as Robin. You just crossed the world's greatest detective, and you don't think that he's coming here right now? At that moment, the door to the room slides open with Batman standing there.
But this Batman, he looks a little different. His eyes begin to glow red. I've been monitoring you for some time, and what you've created will be the perfect tool for what we hope to achieve.
Waller puts her hands to her hips. What are you saying?
I'm saying thank you, Amanda Waller.
He then raises 2 guns and he smiles as he opens fire. With the government guards on the ground smoking from the bullets, Harley looks at him. Who are you?
I'm Batman, and all of you work for me now. You're my Suicide Squad.
Batman walks over to the iPad that controls the bombs.
Though I'll admit, I won't be needing all of you. Some of you are useless.
And as he says that, he looks at Calendar Man. Oh, come on, man! Croc sneaks up behind him and Batman presses something on his wrist. The red bat signal on his chest begins to glow and charge, and red lightning begins to flow around him as he quickly dodges the attack of Croc. He then drops an elbow into his nose.
What part of I'm Batman made you think that attacking me was a good idea, you moron? Consider yourself lucky that he thinks of you as unique and he wants you preserved, Killer Croc. If he didn't, you'd be joining the others.
Batman then goes to press the button that sets off the bombs as Calendar Man shouts, "Stop! It's March 19th! So, it's my birthday."
And Batman presses the button. Multiple heads explode with blood and brain matter flying around. And in the end, Calendar Man still is standing there, covered in the mess that just happened around him.
I'm alive! I'm useful!
No, you're definitely not, Batman says, pressing the button. Stupid government technology.
Batman tells his squad to get ready for extraction, and they walk outside, dropping all of the guards in their path. The helicopter lands, and Batman hands the iPad to the soldier, and he tells him to give him a second.
I guess we're doing this now. I know you're there. You may as well come out.
And in the light of the lightning stands Bruce.
I didn't want us to meet like this. Not yet. I wanted it to be better, more momentous. Take off the cowl. It doesn't belong to you.
Batman then charges up with the red lightning again.
You're wrong. It absolutely belongs to me. I think I'll remove yours. You're wasting it anyway.
Bruce jumps in to kick him, but he's blocked instantly. Then, with seemingly crazy speeds, he punches Bruce in the stomach before blocking another attack and sweeping his legs out from underneath him. Bruce is on his knees as the Batman looks at him.
Oh look, you're on your knees already. This is pathetic, Mr. Wayne.
And he tears off Bruce's cowl and then he punches him across the face. Repeatedly, he hits Bruce insanely hard, telling him,
"You're so disappointing."
And then he drops the cowl at Bruce's feet.
I'm Batman now. Your reign is over.
Bruce woke up the next day in bed with Barbara Gordon looking over him in her Batgirl outfit, and Lucius Fox walks in with a message from the deceased Lex Luthor. He explains that Bruce can't do this alone. He's going to need allies. He'll need heroes, and he'll need people with money. Lex Luthor wants Bruce to make a world that no longer needs Batman, and he wishes that he could help, but he's no longer here. But Bruce sits up, putting on his suit and his cowl.
I need to track down the one who did this.
And Lucius tells him to stop. Before he throws his broken body back out there, there's someone else who wanted to talk to him. And that's when Dinah Lance walks into the room.
It's good to see you.
Dinah runs in for a hug. Come here, you emotionally stunted freak. Bruce hugs her back and then Oliver Queen enters. Bruce asks how, but Dinah explains that it's an alternate dimension Ollie. Bruce explains, this is great. I need people to help save the world. Cost is going to be high. And Oliver goes right on the defensive. You arrogant bastard. You think only rich people can save the world? Well, let me tell you. And he stops him.
I want you both in the group. You said you needed money. I also need people with ideas and their hearts in the right places. You're a billionaire, Ollie.
Huh? No, I was a billionaire. I lost it all and I live in a cabin in the woods now. It's my only asset.
None of that happened in this dimension. So you can take over your predecessor's life, you and your wife.
Ollie once again is confused. Well, Dinah and I aren't actually married. She takes a knee. Let's fix that. Will you marry me again for the first time? Do we have to do this in front of Batman? He turns to Batman. Could you do your disappearing thing? Ollie then turns back to Dinah, and then he looks back again, and Batman's gone. How does he even do that? And then he gets down on one knee with her. Dinah Lance, my pretty bird, will you marry me again for the first time? That's when the son walks in disgusted by this and the alarm begins to blare. Barbara shouts out, it's the prison alarm! Reports begin to fly in that they've lost all the power in the prison, and the first question that goes out is, what about Superman's cell? Meanwhile, at that very cell, Clark looks at his hand and he makes a fist. He then hits the cell door so hard that it cracks the glass and makes a hole. And then he looks at his freedom just on the other side. Without the red sun lamps turned on to dampen his powers, he would be getting them back relatively quickly. And he leaps out of the cell that he is in, landing on the walkway that is set up to allow visitors. Meanwhile, outside of the prison,
Warden Turpin asks who is attacking them. The guards report, "It's Batman, but it's not Bruce Wayne. This is the new evil Batman with red eyes and a crooked smile." He orders Deadshot to take the shot and the prison sniper is removed. He then proceeds to walk in with his own Suicide Squad. Let's make trouble. Luckily, Bruce and Batgirl, along with Black Canary and the Green Arrow from another universe, teleport in. Bruce tells everyone to stop the Suicide Squad while he heads over to Superman's cell. An arrow lodges into Croc's arm and Batgirl jumps on him as Canary screams him down to the ground. Green Arrow walks over telling him, "Stay down and stop trying to eat people." That's when his bow is shot and it's broken in two, and Deadshot points his pistols at both Green Arrow and Black Canary. "This is unexpected. I heard you were dead." Luckily, Harley runs in with a bat, cracking Deadshot over his head, dropping him. And then she looks at Ollie and is stunned. Green Arrow and Black Canary were her friends. They convinced her to do good with her life, and she followed their example before being forced onto the Suicide Squad. Her makeup runs down her face as tears begin to flow, and she hugs the both of them. Green Arrow is from another universe, and he wonders, what the heck is going on? Meanwhile, in Superman's cell, Bruce walks over to him. "Get back in your cell, Clark. Move." "No, we fought too much and lost too much last time. Do you honestly believe that I wouldn't have plans for this in place? Last chance. Listen to that little voice in your head telling you to stop." Superman stares him down. "My conscience is clear, Bruce." And then he hears it, a little voice in his head. "Stop." He makes a fist. "What is this?" And that's when we see Bruce's plan. The atom is in Superman's brain with a tiny kryptonite shard. Adam holds the shard up. "I'm your personal warden. I can do anything from give you a seizure to a stroke." It was Batman's idea, Superman. Superman's eyes glow. "Even for you, this is necessary, Clark." Superman lunges at Bruce, so the atom stabs into his brain, causing him to fall. And Bruce calls up the warden. Superman is handled. Out in the prison yard, the squad is battling against the bullets being shot their way from the guards, and Harley is still hugging Green Arrow and Black Canary. Dinah explains that this is a different Ollie from the one that Harley knew. So Harley informs him, "You were my lover." And of course, everyone says, "What?" So Harley tells him, "I'm joking, of course." And then she explains that she does live in Green Arrow's cave, though. He asks her if it's the Arrow Cave, and she tells him, "No, you called it the Quiver." He looks at Canary. "Is she, messing with me again?" Canary thinks about how bad the Arrow Cave name was and tells him, No, this one's real." Our evil Batman then walks up telling Harley, "This doesn't look good, Harley. Squad, it's time for extraction." And Canary asks, "Why do you want to free Superman?" And Harley tells her, "We don't want him. We came for Damian." Inside, Talia, Ghul, and a woman stand at Damian's cell, and they open it up with Damian asking, "What's going on?" The woman opens fire, killing the guards and the warden, and Damian runs out of the building with them, telling his mother to calm her servant down. She then flips Damian over, slamming him into the ground. "I am no servant." Talia tells him, "This is no way to talk to your sister. Damian, this is Anasia, Ghul, daughter of the Bat." Deep in the base of the evil Batman and the squad, Batman walks over telling Harley, "I could kill you for this, but I won't, because it's not up to me." So Harley asks him, "Oh really? Who's behind this then?" She is brought into a room with the boss, where she sees the man behind it all. Ra's al Ghul surrounded by Vixen, Talia, Damian, Anasia, Poison Ivy, and Sheeta. And I see the other guy there as well, but I don't know who that is. He walks down telling Harley that humanity has crossed the tipping point. It has lit a fuse that cannot be snuffed out. It's too late for humanity. Thousands of species in this world are already dying, with it being as much of a cancer as it is. I intend to cut humanity away from the worlds. Harley makes a face at him. "Did you practice that speech in a mirror?" She turns to Ivy asking, "Why are you here?" And Ivy tells her to save the Green, telling Harley that she may join as well. It's not like she has a choice with the bomb in her head. And Harley tells her she always has a choice. Ra's jumps in there. "You do, but your daughter would miss you." Harley turns back to him. "Be very, very careful." "Lucy, yes?" She likes putting tutus on toy cars. She doesn't know that I'm her mother. He holds up one of those cars. She does know. Then Harley sees her daughter right in front of her, and she tells her to cover her ears, as she gives Ra's a mouthful. He tells Harley that if she doesn't want to help, he will kill her. And Harley stops him again. "No, you won't. You clearly have superheroes here who have bought what you're selling, so you wouldn't kill a child in front of them, or they wouldn't follow you anymore." She then asks him to come close so that Lucy doesn't hear what she has to say. And she headbutts Ra's, knocking out his teeth. Anasia grabs Harley by the shirt, and everyone begins to fight against her, and Ra's tells them all to stop. He apologizes for how he handled this. He wants to save the planet, and he knows that Harley is full of regrets for what she did in Metropolis. Harley looks down, telling him, "Superman was supposed to save the day." And Ra's tells her, "He didn't save Metropolis. He didn't save his wife. He didn't save his child. And he can't save you from what you did. I am the demon reborn, and you can be reborn as well. You can be a phoenix. Help us punish those who stole a future from your daughter." Meanwhile, Bruce is sitting in the Batcave looking at his monitors, and Green Arrow and Black Canary's son arrives asking about his son, Damian. Bruce asks if Dinah sent him down, and he tells her no. She told him to leave Mr. Wayne alone. He then asks if he's looking for his son. He explains that he's looking for the people who took his son, and he looks down at a $5 bill in a glass case. He thinks back to another time, when there was an Alfred and a young boy named Damian. A time when there was a Robin to be trained, and it was time to see if he could become the Robin that he was supposed to be. They were going to give him a night alone to prove himself. So Bruce flew his son to one of the farthest points out in Gotham, far away from everything, and he sets him down, telling him that he can be back in 3.5 hours if he finds the right route. Bruce leaves, and Damian sets his watch to 2 hours, because he'll beat the expected time. He's Damian Wayne. He leaps over the rooftops, and he found a mugging, which he stopped and promptly put an end to. The woman that he saved handed him $5, and he handed it back, telling her, "We don't take tips." He then jumped back up onto the rooftop until he found a man standing on a ledge. He put his hand out, telling him not to do it, and the guy said that he just wanted to think. So Damian jumped off to continue on. But as the man began to cry, Damian was next to him again, asking if he just wanted to talk. He turned to the guy asking if this was his place, and he said it was. So Damian went in, and he made them both tea. They laughed, and the guy got cheered up. And then Damian got a stab victim to the hospital, helped an old woman get on the bus, and once again had to tell her that they don't take tips. After over 10 hours in Gotham, he finally got back to the cave, telling his father that he failed. Alfred asks Bruce, "Did you tell him that it was a time trial?" "No." "Did you imply it?" "Perhaps." Damian is stunned. "Huh?" Alfred explained that it once took Bruce 3 days to get back. Bruce then looks at his son. "I'll take the $5. We don't take tips, Damian." And Damian went to bed smiling. This brings us back to the current day as Bruce is looking at that $5 bill in a glass case in front of him. And he turns to Connor. "Do you want to help?" And Connor tells him yeah. So Bruce heads over with an injector. "I'm gonna make it so that your parents will never lose you, but you have to keep it a secret." The lasers fire over Blue Beetle's backside as he ducks and dodges his way through the mess. And then he opens fire on the robots, blasting them with the full force of the Beetle alien symbiote thingy that is attached to his back. The room fills with smoke as a voice tells him that he filled it up, and he can't see now. Blue Beetle tells him that that's true, and suddenly the voice shouts, "Behind you!" A robot then bursts through the smoke, stabbing Blue Beetle in the stomach, and then everything turns off, and the smoke clears. Ted Kord, the former Blue Beetle, walks out telling the current Blue Beetle that if that had been a real energy blade, he'd be dead now. Blue Beetle pulls back his armor, revealing Jaime Reyes, and he asks Ted if he had ever made mistakes. Ted informs him that it doesn't matter if he did. This is about Jaime right now. The voice of Skeets chimes in. That's a yes. Ted tells Jaime that he has to concentrate, get control of the Scarab, and Jaime tells him that he's trying. Ted tells him, "You were supposed to take them out without destroying them," and Jaime smiles. "I'll pay you back." So Ted turns to his floating robot from the future, Skeets. "How much was that one worth, Skeets?" And Skeets informs him that it's worth $255,000. With that news, Jaime's eyes go wide. He reaches deep down into his pocket, pulling out some coins. "I have $2 and..." Ted stops him. "I'll take it." And Jaime says, "You can't really be serious, right?" Ted simply says, "I didn't become a billionaire by turning down free money." Jaime and Ted work it out, and Jaime begins to go home. And Ted tells Skeets to follow him and make sure that he's okay. He seems a bit rattled. Skeets tells Ted that yes, this is how it happened. Confused, Ted asks Skeets what he means. And Skeets tells him, "Never mind, it's an honor serving you. Goodbye, Ted Kord." Confused as he plans to see Skeets the very next day, Ted walks into the next room to see Batman standing there in the dark waiting for him. "Ted Kord." Ted smiles. "I've known you for years, Bruce. You don't have to use my full name, and you don't have to hide in the shadows. Also, why are you even sneaking in here? You could have just walked in the front door." "It's easier." "It's creepy, Bruce. Bruce Wayne can't just walk into Kord Industries." "Okay, I can see your point," Ted says, pouring himself a drink. "But we could meet somewhere else, somewhere with coffee and a little less drama." Batman tells Ted, "We need to bring Jaime into the field." And Ted snaps. "He's too young, too inexperienced. Damn it, you of all people know what will happen if you throw a kid into a world they aren't ready for." Batman doesn't respond, and Ted looks down at his drink. "I'm sorry, that was a cheap shot." "No, you're right. But I'm not here for that. I'm here to ask you for your help." "Wait, Bruce Wayne is here to ask me for money? No wonder you sneaked in." "I want you to come to a meeting tomorrow." "I'll be there, Bruce." And Batman told him, "Thank you," as he leaped out the window. At that moment, the wall began to warp and twist as Booster Gold himself walked in. "Hey, Teddy." Booster Gold is a time traveler and Ted Kord's best friend. He literally just broke time trying to save his friend's life in another universe, another timeline. And I'll link that story down below. Ted turns back to him and smiles. "I'm having a drink. You want one?" Booster puts his hands to his hips. "I've already had a few, but sure." Ted looks at Booster and he sees pain in his eyes. Teddy, I just wanted to say, I'll be there at the end. If you heard those words from a time traveler, your eyes would get as large as golf balls as well. Ted said the next words, hoping beyond hope. At the end of... He prayed in his mind that Booster would jump in with the end of a movie, the end of a battle, the end of a speech. And Booster looked at the ground, and Ted knew what it meant. End of your life. He put his face into his hands as he rubbed the space between his eyes. Now I understand why Skeets was... Booster put his hand on his friend's back. They're coming. I'm sorry. I would put on your old suit and make them regret it though. And that's just what Ted did, even if it didn't fit anymore with all of those drinks pushing through the seams. Booster tells him, it really didn't fit well before anyway. And Ted just comments, well, you didn't say anything before about it. Booster smirked. I had a lot of things to ridicule. The outfit was really low priority. Ted gets his game face on. The jokes need to end. You can't help me, can you? No, I can't change the past. I tried 3 times before and I got put away. I'm a few years older than when we last met. This is bigger than both of us. Ted leans in to hug his oldest friend, and Booster tells him, as any friend who was about to watch his friend die would, I'm sorry. And Ted embraces his friend one last time, telling him it's okay. And Booster Gold, in his usual comical manner, tells Ted, it's not that. I've had years to mock you for that costume, and I feel like I've let you down. With that, the world around Ted warps and twists again, and our time traveler leaves the room. I'll be there, at the end. The top of the building explodes as the attack begins. Damian, Deadshot, and Katana all leap in through the window asking where is Ted Cord. Through the smoke and the fire, Ted stands ready, suited up and prepared, ready to meet his end at the hand of his attackers. I'm right here. And Damian looks at him. Ted, Damian, your father was here earlier. I don't think he'd approve of the kids that you're hanging out with today. Deadshot then realizes the overweight superhero in front of him is the man that they came to kidnap. Wait, Ted Cord is Blue Beetle? And in response, Ted activates the robots that he was using to train Jaime, and he leaps in. He punches Deadshot across the face before he can even get a shot off, and as he goes in for another hit, Katana cuts his hand off. He falls to his knees in pain, and Deadshot tells him, this is so much bigger than you. While Batman is off, getting the meeting ready for the president with his plans to fix the world, Ted is dragged into another meeting about world fixing. This one involves not so nice people, and he realizes this as the hood is pulled off of his head, and he sees Ra's al Ghul standing in front of him. Ra's looks at him in the costume. Ted Cord is Blue Beetle. I had no idea, and I'm rarely surprised. Ted asks him, what do you want with me? And Ra's smiles. This isn't about you, Mr. Cord. We kidnapped people from around the entire world. While this is happening, Batman explains to his new council, his new attempt to save the world. He brought in people with money, good morals. They were here to help rebuild with their abilities and their money. Lucius Fox, Jackson Hyde to represent the oceans, Jefferson Pierce, aka Black Lightning, Oliver Queen and Dinah Lance, both back from the dead and both Green Arrow and Black Canary. And a new Steel, as the previous one died in the death of Metropolis. Natasha Irons, along with Ted Cord, who's apparently running late. But as they discuss the future, a news report is broadcast. It's Ted Cord on the screen, reading a note. I didn't know. I'm sorry, he says as everyone watches and Cheetah growls. Read the note! I didn't realize my batteries were being made by... But that's when Ra's enters the frame. Ignorance is the excuse of cowards. I want everything to stop. Mining, deforestation, drilling the oceans, burning coal for power. Everything stops now. Ted looks at him. You can't be serious. You can't hold us ransom for the impossible. And Ra's looks right at the camera. You misunderstand. I'm not holding you ransom. You are the example. And today, everything crumbles. Then, Ra's has his men blow up every large corporation in the world all at once. And following that, he welcomes Orca and Croc to devour all of the men that they've kidnapped. The entire world watched as they fed on everyone there. And as Ted Cord lay cut open and bleeding, the space around him warped and bent again. Booster Gold stood there. Hey, Teddy. He removed his mask as Ted told him. I feel cold. Can you train Jaime? Look after him. He's going to need you. And Booster grabbed his oldest friend's hand. I'm not really the mentoring type. Please, you're going to need each other. You're gonna have to help. Booster tried to fight back the tears. Man, you can't just... Who am I gonna laugh at now? And Ted smiled. Through the pain, the blood, and his own death, he smiled. Just look in the mirror. Booster Gold gave out a ha! And then he felt Ted's hand go limp as the last of his life began to fade away. Sadness drew upon Booster's face, and he leaned in, kissing his friend goodbye on the forehead. As the space around Teddy Cord began to bend and warp, Booster said his final words. Goodbye, Teddy. Are you ready? And Kara Zor-El tells him no. Her father tells her that no one is ever ready, so don't worry. And Jor-El leaps on his back. Your father was terrified. I had to push him. And as they goof off, she takes a leap, jumping off of the cliffside. She begins to plummet to the ground with the wind passing by her face at increasing rates. And then her father and Jor-El catch her on a giant bug, telling her that learning to fly isn't easy. A short time later, her father brings her home with a broken arm in which they set her down so that they can sedate her. They tell her that once she wakes up, she'll feel better and be with family. She'll be safe. And in a short 6 years after these events, the fall of Krypton began as Brainiac attacked the planet. As they fall back, Jor-El looks at Zor-El. Go home. This is lost. Get Kara away. He smiles at Zor-El. Do you need a push? Zor-El smiles back and then he hugs his brother. And suddenly Zor-El's eyes go wide and Jor-El sees a tentacle coming out of Zor-El's chest. Jor-El blasts him and calls out to his brother, but Zor-El tells Jor-El, Kara, I can't see it through. I'm sorry. Jor-El looks at his dying brother. Don't worry. She'll be safe on Earth. I'll see to it. And as he holds his brother's dying body close, I'll be right behind you. Jor-El ran to the house, handing Kara's mother a rifle, telling her what happened, and they ensured that Kara was loaded up into a space pod and launched into space. She fought against it, but eventually she was loaded up and fired off. She watched as Kal-El shot past her, and then her ship was damaged by all of the debris from Krypton. With that, she was placed into a cryogenic sleep, and 35 years later, she awoke on the planet Earth asking where Kal was. As her eyes adjusted to the sunlight, Black Adam was standing over her. Black Adam had her placed into a room where the sun would always touch her to allow her to charge, but he kept her hidden from the world, battling against other nations that saw her crash land, wanting to take whatever crashed to be theirs. He gave demonstrations as to why you do not question what fell from the sky, and those were observed by Vixen and Animal Man as they returned to Ra's al Ghul. Black Adam returned to his palace where the maidens told him that the girl had finally spoken. Without looking at him and tears pouring down her face, she told him, Krypton was destroyed. My home is gone. I watched my world end. It feels like it was hours ago, but I fear that I've been asleep for a long time. Yes, you have. How long? I don't know. Please tell me about my cousin. You said you knew him. So Black Adam explains that Kal-El was the greatest leader that he had ever known. Kara tells him that she needs to know. Where is he? He was to be under her protection. Tell her everything. So Black Adam begins from the start. Kal-El was tricked by a great evil and he lost his wife and unborn child. But Superman, as he's called on this planet, took his grief and resolved to make a better world. He wanted to spare people from the pain that he had been through. He asked another hero to help him, Batman, a man who had stood beside him for years, his best friend. But Batman turned his back on his greatest friend. Kal-El wanted only the best for his people. He was a kind ruler and much loved. But Batman tore a hole in the universe and brought in twisted versions of her cousin and his followers to fight against them. They took his friends, they took his love, and they imprisoned him. And they hurt her cousin. She stood up worried. We have to free him! We cannot, yet. He is held too tightly, but if we prepare, we might be able to. We'll need to free a warrior. She is held on an island and she can train you. Until we are ready to reveal you to the world, you mustn't reveal yourself to anyone. Stay here. Stay hidden. Meanwhile, in a graveyard filled with far too many graves, many heroes and friends of Ted Kord stand there to say their goodbyes and pay their respects. As Bruce Wayne is the only one left there, a young boy yells out, Batman! Bruce turns, grating his teeth at him. Can I help you? Jaime Reyes comes up shouting, Can you help me? Do you know who I am? Bruce grabs his coat, telling him, You are Jaime Reyes. You've been infused with the Blue Beetle Scarab. I know your entire family and where you all live. I know all of this, but the people who are very likely watching this funeral have no idea who you are. So unless you want to put your family into jeopardy, keep your voice down. Jaime closes his eyes. I'm sorry. It's okay, son. Say what you need to and make it quick. When you go after them, I want to go, please. Bruce turns his back to leave, and as he walks away, he tells him, We'll let you know when to act. Go home. Elsewhere in this graveyard, Dinah walked off and Ollie called out for her until he realized where she went. She looked longingly at the grave of Oliver Queen. You see, years ago, this universe's Oliver Queen gave his life so that the Resistance stood a chance, and he was murdered by Superman and made the ultimate sacrifice. The Oliver Queen that she is with now is from another universe, and she has built a life without him. But this is the first time that she is seeing the grave of the original since it all happened. Ollie tells her, I'm jealous. Is that weird? A little bit. He is you, she tells him. But that Oliver, he got to spend time with you that I didn't. And then he thinks about it. We should get married tomorrow. Dinah is shocked and look at him. Ollie, there's a time and place for some impulsive romantic gestures. A funeral's friend is neither. You asked me, remember?
Yeah, and now doesn't feel like a right time. So Oliver takes her hand. Life is short, pretty bird. And I can say this because I'm standing in my own grave. Let's do this. One moment of happiness. The war can wait. The war can wait. So in the Gotham Cathedral, Dinah has Barbara Gordon helping her get her dress straight. Because we have a wedding to celebrate. A moment of happiness to follow a moment of sadness. Dinah is told that she has a visitor. And in walks an old man. She looks at him. Ted! She jumps onto him, hugging him, and she asked where he was, and he told her, I stopped fighting. The Wildcat is gone. But I heard you were getting married, and well, I was just wondering. That's a pretty long aisle to walk alone. He smiled at her. I thought you might want some company. Meanwhile, out in front of the building, Jefferson, Ollie, Bruce, and the kids are all standing around. Ollie looks at his son. What do you do? The young boy explains, I bear the ring! Yes, and once the music starts to play, what do? I take the ring, yes, and I throw it into the fiery pits of Mount Doom! Ollie looks at Bruce. Did you put him up to that? Maybe, Bruce tells him with a smile as Jefferson laughs. But of course, in this world, this happy day cannot be. And Bruce gets a ping on his watch. He tells Ollie that he has to go, taking off his tie and running down the steps. Ollie calls out, Bruce, is this the fate of the world or can this wait? As Bruce gets into a car, he tells him, it's not that, it's personal. Just stay and get married. As Ollie told him to stop, Bruce drove away in the just married car. He barrels through the gates to Wayne Manor and he runs past an alarm to look at Alfred's grave and he finds him gone, dug up. Behind the grave stands Damian Wayne holding the corpse, and Anasia with that new Batman holding his guns. While we still don't know who this new Batman is, Anasia is the sister of Damian and the daughter of the Bat, though he doesn't know that yet. What are you doing, Damian? You failed him. I'm making it right. And while Dinah is walking down the aisle getting ready to say her vows, Anasia points her gun at Bruce, and she says over comms, are you in place? And Deadshot looking at the cathedral tells her, yeah, I am. Bruce sees Anasia and the Batman asking, who are you? And she tells them, we're just like Alfred, people you let down. So we're gonna hurt you now, and we're going to hurt your friends. Bruce throws down smoke pellets, trying to call a Batgirl to warn them. She tries to ignore him because there's a wedding going on, but she very quickly sees why he was calling when Deadshot and his crew crash through the window. And just after the kiss, Oliver takes 4 shots to the chest from the attack. Bruce is running through the forest with his daughter, firing at him as they go. And while he has his phone to his head trying to warn Batgirl, a bullet goes through the phone in his hand. He reaches into his pocket, pressing a button on a device, and in the Batcave, the Batjet activates and soars through the sky. It hovers behind him, and Bruce turns back. Damian, don't do this! Alfred wouldn't want. Don't pretend for a second you know what Alfred would want, Bruce. He raised you and you still treated him like a servant. Teleport us out of here now. And all of them warp away, leaving Bruce alone. Back at the wedding, the heroes are fighting the villains, and Oliver stands up, revealing his Kevlar tux. He turns to Jefferson, aka Black Lightning, telling him to get the kids out of there. As Jefferson's kids and Oliver's son run into the back alleyway, Deadshot is waiting, and he tranks all 4 of them. Captain Boomerang and Harley stand over the kids, and Boomerang asks if anyone hears that. And above them, the Batjet begins to hover. So they grab the kids and they teleport away, not wanting to fight Bruce Wayne. Oliver and Dinah run out of the back of the building to find their son, only to find an unconscious Jefferson. And Dinah looks around panicking. Where are the kids? Where are they? Ollie, he's gone! And Oliver walks over holding Dinah. We'll bring them back. We'll get them. Meanwhile, back at the Lazarus pit, Damian walks towards it holding the corpse of Alfred. I'm sorry Bruce didn't save you, but it's not too late. I can save you. And he submerges with Alfred. I can bring you back. Now Damian sits by the side of Alfred, who is apparently alive, but quite obviously slowly recovering from being a corpse. His sister, the daughter of the Bat, Anasia, pokes her head in, seeing Damian doting over his true father. She warns him that sometimes the Lazarus pit doesn't bring people back properly. Sometimes it takes time. Damian lifts a spoonful of food to Alfred's mouth to feed him, as she tells Damian that she never thought that she would see this side of him. Damian questions what she's talking about, and she explains that she assumed that he was a one-dimensional spoiled brat. But this? Who taught him this humility? Damian turns to her. He did. Talia walks in telling her son to bring Alfred. Roz is about to contact the Dark Knight. In the main conference room, Roz is staring at a screen, and on the other side, Bruce Wayne and his team. Roz tells him, an event is approaching. You will know it when it begins. You and your friends are not to try and prevent it. I have your children, referencing the last episode in which Roz took the children of Ollie, Dinah, and Black Lightning. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to hurt anyone. But we will act soon to balance the world. Let me do to the world what it needs, and I will return your children unharmed. This I swear. But if you decide that the lives of a few children mean nothing when compared to the world's, I also have your father. Bruce's eyes go wide as Damian wheels out the barely alive Alfred. And while Alfred can't lift his head any more than an inch, he does raise his eye to see Bruce on the screen. Then Roz kills the feed and Damian growls at his grandfather. Are you done? He won't stop. He'll come for Alfred and the kids. If the detective is sensible, he isn't. It doesn't matter. Even the great Batman can't find us here. And with that, he walks out of the room. And over in the new base of operations, Bruce looks at his screen. They're in South Africa. I lost Connor's signal there. If you think back, Bruce placed a tracker on Connor, the son of Ollie and Dinah, at the start of the story. I assume they're underground now. Ollie snaps. You put a tracker on our son? I was being careful. And you didn't tell us? That wouldn't have been being careful. Ollie thinks about it and he looks at Bruce. Wait, did you know? What? That they were going to take them. I didn't know, but I felt it was wise to take precautions. Oh, you little sh**. And Ollie cracks Bruce across the face. Bruce looks at the ground, blood coming out of his lip. I'd let you have that one. You let me? Know this. I'm not your Green Arrow. You don't know me. You don't know my abilities. Test me. Go on. I'll let you have the first one. And Bruce and Ollie look at each other, glaring, ready to throw down, until Dinah breaks it up. So they can all take a step back and Batgirl decides to take charge, because she has the plan. There's one man, one person who can get into this facility completely undetected. Someone who staged a prison break back in year 5, all to rescue his son, Plastic Man. Ollie stands there speechless. Seriously? Knock, knock, knock. The door to apartment 41 opens up, and there stands Bruce Wayne in his bat suit with a man in a trucker hat and a beard surprised to see him. You're not a pizza. Luke McDonough. He doesn't live here anymore. He does live here. And while your shape changing is impressive, you need to do a better job of disguising your voice. The man in the trucker hat begins to get scared and panic as he slams the door. He begins to morph back, shouting, no, 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 no! Bruce kicks in the door. I just want to talk. And he looks around and he sees no one. You're the armchair against the wall. Luke morphs back, panicking again. No, 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 no! And he runs around the corner. Bruce walks slowly in. You're the trash can. And the trash can gets up running. Ah! You're the rug. And the rug yells out. You're the top 3 pizza boxes in the stack. And his head grows out of it. How are you doing that? And then he realizes what he's doing. I'm trying to play hide and seek with Batman. What did I think would happen? Right, whatever you're here for, let's get it over with. I just want to talk to your father. Where is he? And Luke looks down at his watch. Dad? Plastic Man grows to normal size, smiling. You didn't know I was there, did you? See, son, your old man could trick the Batman. He then turns back to Bruce. Whatever it is, I don't want in. I need your help. The Justice League needs your help. Forget it. Luke chimes in. I'll help. And Plastic Man turns back. Wait, no. So Bruce tells him. They killed Ted Cord. I know. And they took the kids. They? Fine. For Dinah and Jefferson, I'll help. And so you don't get my son killed. They all load up into the bat plane and Luke looks at Bruce. What are you thinking about? How to kill countries. And Plastic Man looks at him. What a fun-filled place your head is. I'm trying to think of ways that Roz is going to destroy the entire world. How would he do it? So you're just sitting there thinking of the most efficient way to commit genocide? Yes. And Plastic Man and Luke turn to the back of the plane, turning away from Bruce Wayne. Is there anywhere else I can sit in this plane? But before they can get very far, a hand lands onto the windshield. The fingers puncture through the bulletproof glass that is the Batplane. And Jaime Reyes tells them, pull over. They all land at a nearby cliffside and Jaime walks forward. I want in if you're going to attack. You said that you were going to tell me. Bruce and Plastic Man stand there and Plastic Man asks, hey, you're the kid that worked with Ted Cord, right? And Jaime tells him, I did. And Plastic Man tells him, he was such a great guy. He used to catch up on cards every week. And then he turns back to Bruce. Sorry, you weren't invited. You tend to unfun things. You're way too competitive. So what do you want, kid? Jaime explains that he wants to avenge Ted's death, and Plastic Man thinks about it. He places his hand to his chin as he tilts his head back. Sounds like the kid's on a crusade to avenge the murder of a loved one. And then he whips his plastic head around like a cartoon, looking right at Bruce Wayne. Anything you can relate to, Bruce? Bruce stares forward, and then he looks at Plastic Man in the eyes. He doesn't say anything. So Plastic Man, Luke, Blue Beetle, and Bruce Wayne all head off into the sunset to make their way to South Africa. They have a family to save. Up far in space over the Amazonian rainforest of Brazil, Batgirl, Dinah, and Ollie are sitting there, getting ready. Batgirl walks over, suiting up. She has Plastic Man wrap around her body, and Luke also wraps around her body. They create a spacesuit, practically, and they tell Batgirl, when you open up your eyes, you will be on the ground. The doors in the back of the spacecraft open up, and as far as the eye can see are stars and the horizon of the Earth. Then they back out of the ship. They begin to plummet to the surface of the planet, with everyone in the ship warning them that they're going too fast. Plastic Man needs to slow down. He's about to break the sound barrier, and he's increasing at his rate of speed every second. And Plastic Man tells them he's just being a little cautious. He needs to make sure that he gets fast enough to get past any kind of thing that they may have detecting them. As they get just above the tree land, Plastic Man turns to Luke and he tells him, "Hold her steady, I can't have her jerking around when I set this up." And Luke asks him, "I thought you were making a parachute." Plastic Man smiles. "Parachutes aren't fun." So he turns himself into a hang glider, and they slowly but surely glide into the ground. As they get close, Luke stretches out his legs to the ground, allowing them to have a safe and sturdy landing, and the insertion team has arrived. They know right away that they found the correct location when they see a series of ninjas in front of them. Ninjas don't typically hang out in jungles. Luke morphs into a ninja and he approaches them, and as he gets closer, he openly says, "I didn't think about how this conversation would begin." So then he turns into a giant spread and he covers them, trapping up all of the ninjas, and as they scream out, he once again tells them, "I don't understand why you're doing that. Ninjas are supposed to be quiet." As one ninja tries to run off, Plastic Man stretches out, catching him, telling him, "Nah, that's not gonna happen." Luke tells his father that it's nice, and Plastic Man is confused. Knocking ninjas unconscious and sneaking into an underground lair is nice, but Luke explains that that's not it. This is as close as they can get to throwing a ball back and forth. Plastic Man agrees as he tells his son, "Let's go father-son bond the absolute hell out of this hive of evil." Batgirl makes it to a safe place, and Batman and everyone else teleports in. They all move in and silently drop as many ninjas as they can find. But the situation escalates quickly because the evil, twisted Batman and Ra's al Ghul knew that this team was coming in. They knew they were en route, and they put Diablo in the entryway. The Batman calls up to Diablo, telling him if he's ready, and Diablo tells him just say the word. So Batman gives him the word, and the entire entryway explodes, melting every exit and entrance into the base. The twisted Batman tells everyone, "We don't know how Batman found us, but now there's no way in or out. We're gonna settle this." Then Bruce Wayne gets ready to end it as he looks for the children and Alfred. Blue Beetle hovers over the fire and destruction, calling out to Batgirl for an answer. He doesn't get a response, so he flies down to look at the entrance and he calls again. The entrance is, well, gone. Do you want me to watch over it still? Batgirl? Batgirl? Inside of the facility, Black Lightning asks the team, "Can we call Blue Beetle?" Batgirl informs him that they can't. Whatever just happened stopped the tracker on Connor, Green Arrow, and Black Canary's child, which means that there's a jamming signal coming to the place now they can't call out. Black Lightning turns down the hallway. Nothing's changed. And Batgirl agrees. We find the exit later. Right now, we find the kids. But Ollie, the Green Arrow, looks over the giant facility and he realizes, this isn't gonna be easy, guys. Wildcat agrees. Finding the kids is gonna be like finding a needle in a haystack. In this analogy, the hay is a bunch of people that want to kill us, Ollie adds. As Batgirl calls up their man on the inside, Plastic Man. We're in the kitchen right now, Batgirl. I'm currently a mixing bowl. Once we find the kids, I'll let you know where to find us. Roz might be crazy, but he's an organized crazy. He signposted the whole place. Bruce begins to walk off. Go find the children. I'm gonna go find Alfred and Damian. And Wildcat asks, Damian, what are you gonna do, drag him out of here? If I have to. Right, then I'm going with you. That sounds fun. And Wildcat and Batman walk off. Meanwhile, in the room where the children are being kept by surrounding plants, all of them are wondering what that explosion was. And Lucy, Harley Quinn's daughter, asks if they think it's a rescue mission. Both of Black Lightning's kids show that they have powers of their own and they're ready to help the grown-ups fight their way out of the facility. Elsewhere in the facility, Ra's al Ghul walks into a room telling everyone that they need to go find Batman and get rid of him. I'll guard the children myself. And as he says that, Ra's walks into the room where the children are, brandishing a sword. Back with Bruce and Wildcat. Wildcat is having fun punching the bad guys, but he comments, Bruce, you need more training. It looks like your forn's been dipping. That's when a giant tree trunk bursts through the ground, separating the two of them. Wrapped up in the bark and the wood of the tree, Poison Ivy looks at Bruce. You really shouldn't have come here. Over with Ra's, the kids begin to shoot lightning at him and his ninjas, and Ra's begins to shout, ow, ow, ouch, ouchie! Lucy looks at the other kids. Did Ra's just say ouchie? That's when Ra's morphs back into Plastic Man's kid, Luke. He was a shapeshifter the whole time. As they stop hitting him, the sword then morphs into Plastic Man himself. He looks at Lucy with a perplexed appearance. Who are you? You're not on my list of kids I'm supposed to save. Connor chimes in that it's Harley Quinn's daughter. So Plastic Man asks if she's a prisoner as well. She tells him that she is, and he tells her, that's good. She asks him why, so he explains, if you weren't a prisoner, I'd be kidnapping a child, and that's some ethically iffy stuff. Harley Quinn then walks in asking what the hell is going on. You see, she's been forced to help Ra's al Ghul due to the suicide bomb that's been placed into her neck. But once she finds out that Plastic Man is here to rescue the kids, including her daughter, regardless of that bomb, she wants to help. So they all begin to head to the exit, except that's when they run into Orca and Killer Croc. Plastic Man and Luke begin to wrap themselves up and battle against them. And that's when Plastic Man tells Harley to take the kids and run to the teleporter room. She asks how she is supposed to handle everyone else alone, and he tells her, "You aren't alone." And he's got a smile on his face. They blitz down the hallway until they run into the evil Batman, the one with the red eyes and assault rifles. Lucy asks who he is, and Harley informs her. He thinks he's Batman. "I am Batman," he tells her coldly. "I'm also tired of you. Cover your eyes, Lucy." And that's when he raises up the iPad to set up the bomb in Harley Quinn's neck. But Harley isn't about to take this lying down as she leaps in to grab onto this evil Batman. She looks him right in the eyes. "Do it! Blow me up and I'll take you with me! All of my little bone shards in my head are gonna go into your face!" He backhands her to the ground and Harley looks at her daughter. "Lucy, get back. I'm sorry." And with tears in her eyes, Lucy looks at her mother. "Don't go." Evil Batman presses the button to end the life of Harley Quinn, and as she's about to explode, Harley looks at her daughter with makeup running down her face. "Sorry, we didn't get more time. I loved you so much, baby." She closes her eyes tight and nothing happens. Evil Batman is in shock, and that's when Harley hears a voice in her head. It was the Blue Wire. I had to guess because we were running out of time. Out of her head leaps the Atom, who grows in size. "Your bomb is deactivated, Quinn." Wildcat runs up from behind, telling everyone, "Leave! I'll handle this wannabe." Everyone runs off, and Wildcat looks at him. "What is this? You can't get a look of your own?" "I'm Batman." "Nah, if you were Batman, you wouldn't still be talking." So evil Batman kicks him in the gut, and then he punches him across the face. Wildcat spits up the blood and takes a shot, crushing evil Batman's head into the wall. So Batman returns the favor by shooting Wildcat in the gut. Off with Harley and Connor. Connor stops, telling Harley that they have to go back. They can't leave Wildcat to die. Harley stops and looks at him. "I'm going to explain this in the most condescending manner that I can. We have to go. That was a sacrifice, and if it's going to mean anything, then we have to escape. On the sacrifice chart, which is not something that I totally made up, we're currently at a 10. And if you turn around, that's going to turn it into a 2. Connor looks at her. "I'm going back." "Oh, you're so much like your parents." She turns to Adam. "Man on my head, you take the kids and get out of here. I'm going back with Connor, apparently." Back with Wildcat, he puts his hand over the bullet wound. "You coward! You brought a gun to a fist fight!" And Batman shoots him again. The shock is displayed on his face as he asks, "Are you still trying to stop me?" And at his ankle is Wildcat holding on. "You never knew when to give up, did you, Ted?" And Batman puts the gun to his forehead. Connor runs in with the force of the canary. He shouts out the canary cry. It throws the evil Batman into the wall, and Harley is stunned. "Oh snap! Green Canary!" That scream wasn't exactly quiet though, and even the blue Beetle on the outside hears it. He rockets in at top speed, telling himself, "I gotta get in there, somehow!" Back with Batgirl, Black Lightning, Ollie, and Dinah, they're continuing to fight the ninjas when they hear the scream echoing through the halls. Dinah tells everyone that they've gotta hurry. And back with Connor, Harley puts her hands on his shoulder. "Well, that was impressive, but not discreet. We need to go. All the bad guys are coming right here." And behind her, the rest of the bad guys arrive. Captain Cold asks Harley what's going on, so she informs him that Wildcat and Batman fought, and as Batman shot Wildcat, he punched and knocked out Batman. "I know it seems improbable, but we need to punish Wildcat with medical attention." Luckily, before Captain Cold can fully question what the hell is going on, a boxing glove arrow flies in, knocking him out. And that's when everyone sees Black Lightning, Dinah, and Ollie. He electrocutes everyone except Katana. And Harley looks at Katana. "Hey, you aren't in this fight. You don't know Ra's anything. Just walk away." And Katana does. Connor runs over to his parents and Black Lightning asks where his kids are. So Harley explains that Adam took them to the teleporter room. They all run to Wildcat's side, and Harley explains that nothing vital was hit, but he is losing a lot of blood. They need to get him out of here. Batgirl tells everyone to bring him to the teleporter. They're gonna go help Bruce. Harley smiles. "I'll come with you. I'm kinda like Bruce's new Robin." Meanwhile, Bruce is all wrapped up in vines thanks to Poison Ivy, and she leans in to give him a kiss ending his life. But he activates a gadget that disperses weed killer everywhere, and then he throws on a gas mask. As Poison Ivy is reeling in pain, Bruce stands over her. "I'm not playing today, Ivy. Tell me where Alfred is now." Over with Damian, the daughter of the Bat and Animal Man, sits Alfred, still not talking from the Lazarus pit, and realizing that no one is responding to their comms, Damian informs everyone Bruce is on his way. He's doing that thing that he does. Back with Harley, she runs over to the weakened Ivy, who informs her that Bruce did this. And Harley gives her water, telling her that once this is over, come find her. Not in a getting revenge kind of way, but do it in a friend kind of way. She then kisses her goodbye and they run off to meet up with Bruce. Out of the bushes, Bruce arrives and he puts his hand on Alfred's shoulder. "Alfred, are you okay?" Damian steps up from behind him though. "Don't touch him." "Damian, what have you done?" "It's what you should have done." "This is wrong." "You let him die. I brought him back. You think I'm in the wrong?" You know what I think? I think losing people makes this easier for you. Without the pain, you might not be able to justify all the violence that you bring. For Batman to fight his crusade, you need the people you care about to die. So Bruce breaks his own son's nose. Yeah, that's it, Dad. I'm taking Alfred, come with me. Where? Home? Yes, after you serve your time. So you're offering to lock me up again? You're so bad at this, and you're not taking Alfred. Damian leaps in with a roundhouse and Bruce blocks it. Damian headbutts him. And one man in the center of this argument opens up his eyes, finally coming to his senses. As they continue to fight, Bruce reaches out, catching Damian's arm, breaking it. Stand down. You're gonna have to make me. So Bruce raises his fist to punch his son out when another arm reaches out, stopping him. Bruce looks back to see an angry Alfred looking at him. Alfred, calm down. You can stop fighting. He stands up and a very confused and hurt Bruce just stands there. Alfred leans in with a smile on his face, hugging Bruce. It's all right, son. Batman is now being hugged by a recently revived Alfred, and he tells him, I'm sorry, Alfred. Plastic Man's son Luke looks back at Harley and Batgirl and asks them, who's that guy? Alfred. He was dead. He's Batman's butler. And Luke is even more confused. I'm missing something important, aren't I? Damian looks at Alfred. Are you okay? I am all right, Master Damian. I just need to sit down for a moment. He goes to sit down and Damian runs to his side as Batman pushes him back. Don't touch him! And Alfred snaps. Stop, both of you. I don't know what is happening here. I don't know how much I've missed, but stop this. Forgive each other. Now. Damian looks at him. Alfred, he let you die. And Alfred stops him again. No, he didn't. He never would, and you know this. Ra's al Ghul walks in and Alfred sees his chance. I've been listening to you. I've heard the plans. You want to do the right thing, but your planning is wrong on every level. You and Bruce, you both want to save the world. You're the two most intelligent people on the planet. Two of the most driven, and two of the most stubborn and uncompromising. You both believe in absolutes, but the world isn't black and white. It's not too late. Take a moment. One moment can avoid so much. Sit, talk, come up with a solution, one that saves humanity and saves the planet. Luke, once again, without knowing anything that's going on, brings that fact up. You know, Batman's zombie butler is making sense. And then, Tomb! The entire building is shaken, and the extinct birds begin to fly in fear. Batman looks up, realizing, it's Blue Beetle. He's trying to get in. Up above, Blue Beetle has lost contact with the entire team, and he begins to bombard the ground with his suit. Over and over, he hits it, telling himself, I'm coming, guys. I'm coming. I got this. Not realizing what it is that he's attacking. The building begins to shake and crumble. Vixen and Diablo run into the main hall asking what's going on. Batgirl turns around, shocked that Vixen is even there, and Vixen pleads, don't you see what Ra's is doing here? Stop whatever it is that you guys are doing. As Batgirl turns to the man in charge, if you let me get a signal out, I can stop him. But it's too late as Blue Beetle hits the dome, protecting the space with a full blast, shattering it. He comes in asking, Batman, Batgirl, I'm sorry, but the entrance was attacked. Is everyone okay? Harley is the one to break the news as she sadly tells him, oh kid. Meanwhile, Vixen is holding one of the animals as the shard of glass has landed in its neck, killing it. One of the last remaining of this species of animal, where the extinct animals were allowed to go and prosper once again. She sets it down softly and looks at Blue Beetle. You just wiped out a species! And she summons the powers of the now extinct animal, leaping at Blue Beetle. Plastic Man stretches out, wrapping up Vixen, telling Blue Beetle to stop, and Diablo blasts him in the back. Batman's daughter looks at him. I've always wanted to do this, as she punches him across the face. Keep in mind, right now he doesn't know who she is. As everyone begins to break out into fighting, Damian goes to Alfred's side, picking him up, telling him, we gotta get you out of here. With explosions, power blasts, and bullets flying all over, Talia and Ra's shout out, you don't do this in here! But no one can hear them as they continue to battle with each other. One shot then hits Diablo in the chest and it's over. He can't contain the heat any longer. Luke and Plastic Man wrap around everyone in the room, and Blue Beetle says that he's sorry as Diablo completely explodes, taking out all of the extinct animals and plants, completely destroying Raz's sanctuary. Plastic Man and Luke pull back, obviously injured from the blast, and Vixen walks out horrified. They were all the last of their species. With tears in his eyes, Raz looks at Batman. Is this what you wanted, detective? Batman's daughter groans as she was hit with the blast, and Talia runs to her daughter's side. Raz looks at Batman. To come here and hurt your son and daughter in this way. Batman's eyes go wide as he realizes who the girl is. Raz walks over, placing his hand on Talia's shoulder. I know you never had a childhood. and mine was a long time ago. But do you know what I remember about my youth? The passion that I had. The certainty. But detective, you should know. You are in the wrong place. Meanwhile, at a ceremony at the Capitol, the new Steel and Aqualad, they're there to ensure that none of Roz's plans go forward, that he can't disrupt the Peace Summit. Jackson Hyde, aka Aqualad, calls up to Steel telling her that he thinks he saw something get into the sky. She flies high and looks over the thousands of people in the area asking Jackson what it is that she's looking for. And he tells her, I'm not sure, just get a better vantage point. He walks into the water and Roz continues his speech in his sanctuary. You see, detective, it is why we recruit the youth for our cause. Because of their fire, their conviction. They do whatever it takes. Back at the Capitol, Jackson begins to raise all of the water into a massive tidal wave. The wave gets larger, and it grows taller than the Washington Monument, and the people of the treaty begin to see it as the shadow of it begins to fall upon them. Steel calls out, Jackson, what are you doing? And as Roz continues, they do whatever it takes if they believe that is right, detective. The tidal wave comes crashing down onto the Capitol, hitting everyone there and washing them away. They drown, they're thrown into things, and they die. Lots of them die. And Steel flies towards him. Jackson! You have what you wanted, detective. You have the children. You can take Alfred. Your mission was a complete success. And everyone loses. That's when we see the sanctuary that Roz has built, and the Capitol in shambles, thousands dead. Roz turns his back to the Dark Knight. It's over. And Bruce asks him, what did you do, Roz? What have I done? What have I done? I removed the destructive force from your country's system. But what you have done here cannot be undone. What you have taken from this world in one reckless, selfish moment can never be replaced. I tried to control you, to spare you, but stand in my way now, and you will die with those that you protect. Any mercy that I had, any thought that I had of preserving you for my daughter, for my grandchildren, was wiped out with this sanctuary. Our mission will be stepped up. The humans will be wiping themselves out, and we're going to stop them from taking the planet with them. With that, the doors slammed shut. Roz and Talia took their team and they went to Site B, located in the middle of the Gorilla Empire. And as he walks into the basement into a hidden lab, there he finds Professor Ivo sitting with Amazo as it's being built. Are you ready? Black Adam asks Supergirl as she's looking over the edge. Nearby, he's hovering with a small smile on his face. It's all right. No one can truly be ready for this. And she looks down at the ground determined. It's all right. I am ready for this. She spreads her arms and she leaps off at the top of the building, prepared to soar, prepared to fly like her cousin Cal. She smiles as she thinks that she has it, and then she realizes she doesn't as she goes flying into the ground, screaming, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it! She bounces off at the side of the building, and then kroom! She hits the ground. Black Adam floats down to ask her if she's all right, and she tells him that she is. And with a look of disappointment, he tells her that he thought she was ready for this. She's more surprised that she landed making a crater. That's when one of Black Adam's servants walked in to inform him an emissary had arrived. One named Damian Wayne. Black Adam isn't concerned as he turns to Kara telling her to stay hidden. No one must know of her existence yet. She must be prepared for the larger mission. Free Wonder Woman and then Superman. Do not worry yourself with these little things, Kara. He takes his throne and Damian walks in with his arm in a sling after his father broke it in the last story. He stands as Damian takes a knee asking what brings him here. He explains that he is here on behalf of Ra's al Ghul, the demon. Black Adam is confused as Damian explains that they know that Black Adam would do anything to protect his nation, and there is a war being fought. Black Adam isn't very pleased. Are you threatening me? There will be no war brought to my borders. He looks him in the eyes and he tells him, the coming disaster doesn't recognize borders, Adam. The planet itself is changing with every life in danger. The planet is warming and life will be scorched from it unless we act. Black Adam isn't even fazed by this. If there is a war, why are you not fighting? Because I am but one man, and I am injured. Black Adam asks him how, and when Damian doesn't answer, he figures, it was your father, the Batman. But as he says this, Kara peeks her head out, gasping, What? You see, Black Adam has been explaining the horrors of Batman to Kara, and how he is against her cousin's methods. Adam tells Damian to stand as he is not a subject of Black Adam's. He'll arrange a place for Damian to stay the night, and they will speak more at dinner. But he very sternly warns him, I will not leave this city or my people. Kara comes out. He saw me, didn't he? Yes. Does he have abilities like us? He has no power, Kara, but he has skills and he is formidable. Then you must listen to him. If the planet is in danger, I know all too well how it can end. And Adam doesn't even look at her. No. I mean no disrespect. You have been nothing but kind to me, but you do not know of what you speak. He looks at her. I know what I speak. I am old, and you are very new to this world. I watched my world die. Do not accept it not happening to yours. Not if you have any power to stop it. And then she changes the subject quickly to avoid angering Black Adam. Is his father really Batman? Yes, but there is no love between them. His father imprisoned him as well. Now return to your room and stay there until he is gone. Please, it is for your own good. He must not learn of who or what you are. But as you would expect, while she is in her tower, Damian appears having overheard the whole thing. She is surprised at him sneaking up, and he smiles, apologizing for scaring her. He explains that his father is Batman, and Batman has hurt him in more ways than one. And then he asks, who are you? And with a cracoom, Black Adam arrives angry that this would happen under his own nose. Damian turns smiling at him. Now that was loud. You're supposed to be in your room, Damian. I went for a walk. I welcomed you into my nation, Damian, but my hospitality only stretches so far. Who is she, Adam? He grabs Damian by his armor. She is no one, and if you insist on asking, you will be no one as well. But as he throws Damian out the window while holding him, Kara leaps out to stop this, and as she does, her eyes glow red. Damian knows what this is. My God, Adam, she's Kryptonian. What have you done? Later that night, with the moon high in the sky, Damian stands in Kara's window asking if she's okay. She looks surprised. I thought Black Adam could find you. Ah, he did. It was cute. Had a lock on it and everything. Have you seen anything beyond Kahndaq? Of course, she says no, so Damian tells her to put on an extra mask he has and catch him. He then falls backwards out the window. As it begins to plummet to the ground, he begins to worry, stating, anytime now. She grabs him and then lands with her back on the ground, cushioning Damian's fall as he bounces away. He lays flat on his back, simply saying, ow, what's wrong with you? I thought you could fly. She informs him that she only learned of that today. He was there. Okay, he says, rolling over. I get it now. But look, you're out of the tower. He stands up telling her that it's time for her to see what this world has to offer. And they're going to fly there. Slowly, very slowly. So she picks him up and they begin to fly, slowly at first, and they begin to float towards the ocean. As they soar over it, they see a whale. And then they soar over an arena for soccer, and she comments how this world is beautiful. So Damian redirects her to a nearby city, one in the middle of a civil war. She sees the death and the destruction, and she asks why he is showing her this. And he explains because she could make a difference. She can help. While they're there, a chemical weapon is thrown into the crowd, and Damian covers his mouth in a hurry, explaining what it is. Using her super breath, Kara blows it away, and Damian tells her to leave. Right now, no one has to know that she is here. It's safe now, there's no gas. And as she leaves, he looks at the soldiers. Nah, there's only soldiers with guns now. A child runs up to try and stop them, and Damian pushes her behind him. Stay here. And the guards open fire on all the civilians, Damian included. As Damian assumes that he is going to be shot protecting this group of civilians, Kara lands catching all of the bullets. And then she turns to them. What is wrong with you? Why would you do this? To your own planet? To your own people? And she blows with her super breath so hard, she throws them all down. Damian throws one of his weapons at another, and then he jumps on him, punching him repeatedly, until Kara catches his fist telling him to stop. She grabs the guard, informing him that this city is under their protection now, and anyone who causes problems will answer to her and Damian. The next morning, as the sun rises, Damian asks if she liked being a hero. And then he sadly looks at her. We're going to kill a lot of people. Millions. My grandfather believes is the only way to save the day. She asks him, what do you believe? With your cousin, Superman. There are times that I felt we went too far, but I knew what we were doing was for the best of the world. And now I'm worried. I'm following orders like that soldier was, not really thinking about what I'm doing. And awkwardly, she smiles at him. Do you always do as you're told? Kara, I'm not a good person. Nonsense! Your grandfather wants to kill millions. Your father is Batman, evil incarnate. And your mother? She's an assassin. Of course she is. Damian, it sounds like your family is pure evil. But I've known you for less than a day, and I know that you're willing to sacrifice yourself for a complete stranger. Don't go back to them. Black Adam arrives almost as if it was a cue, telling him, she's right. Stay here. Train Kara. Join us. We need your help to free Wonder Woman and then Superman. Join us, Damian. The gurney-holding Wildcat is pushed forward as he's brought into the hospital after his gunshot wound from the evil Batman. Black Canary tells him to hold on with a panicked look on her face, and Black Lightning is bringing his kids home when he gets a phone call. Over in the Batcave, Batman, Batgirl, and various members of the team are watching the news as they question, who is Jackson Hyde? Was he working only for the terrorist group of Ra's al Ghul, or was he also working for Atlantis? Is this an Atlantean attack? Blue Beetle asks, Is there anything I can do? And Bruce tells him, go home. I didn't mean to. It doesn't matter, Jaime. Go home and don't use your powers again. Blue Beetle hangs his head low. I'm sorry. And he walks out as Plastic Man asks Bruce, what was the point of that? What did you accomplish? As Blue Beetle walks outside, Plastic Man comes up behind him. Kid, it's not your fault. It was an accident. I mean, sure, as accidents go, it's... And Jaime stops him. One of the worst in history. Well, yeah, you contributed to a mass extinction event. Let's not sugarcoat it. But what I saw there wasn't your fault. Jaime pulls out his wings. Okay, well, I'm gonna go home. One last thing, kid. Batman is, well, he can be a jerk. And there's no real point trying to win his approval. Believe me, we've all tried. Over in the home of Jefferson Pierce, Black Lightning gets a knock on the door. He charges up his lightning as he goes to answer it, but shockingly, it's not someone to kill him or his family. It's Agent Baines, and he's here to speak with Senator Pierce, Jefferson's day job. The agent informs him that they need him to come with them, and outside he sees multiple Secret Service agents and a helicopter. Back at Jaime's house, he calls out for his parents, but no one replies, and then a single voice tells him, they're not here. Jaime quickly turns around, charging up his cannons, and Booster Gold leaps out of the way. Whoa, whoa, whoa! I just made your parents went out, kid! He takes a seat in the couch. You know, in hindsight, I can see why saying your parents aren't here in the darkness sounded all supervillainy. Jaime asks him, Booster Gold, why are you on my couch? I was tired. As Jaime takes a seat next to him, Booster tells him, what's wrong with you, kid? I did something terrible. And Booster looks at his bandaged hand. Yeah, I know the feeling. I know it's been a while for you since he died, but I held his hand 5 hours ago. Jaime looks at Booster's hand. What happened to you? This? Oh, yeah. Never drink and time travel, kid. That's how you end up punching a Triceratops. So, Teddy asked me to train you, Booster tells him with a smile. But, Batman says I can't use my powers. Ha! Well, now I'm gonna train you extra hard just to spite him. First bit of advice, ignore Batman. That much self-righteous bravado just has to be compensating for something. Booster opens up the fridge, looking inside. So first, I'm gonna need 8 hours of sleep, a shower, and some bacon. And I don't care what order that comes in. Back over in the Oval Office, Jefferson Pierce is being sworn in because everyone in the line to become the president is now dead and the senator is the next man in line. Back at the fridge, Jaime asks Booster why he didn't just time travel and save Ted. And Booster looks at him with pain in his eyes and a sad frown. There are people who protect the time stream, very serious people who have never smiled in their lives, and they kept stopping me. See, there are some things that you can't change, that don't matter, but there are other things that have to absolutely happen. And Ted, he was one of those things. Jaime asks Booster why. And then Skeets, the floating robot from the future, chimes in. Because you no doubt needed to come together. The time stream demanded it. Meaning, the fate of the world depends on you two. And with that news, Booster only has 2 words. Oh, crud. But this isn't where the story must go, because finally, Bruce Wayne must answer for his crimes. During the original Injustice storyline, his identity as Batman was revealed to the world, and now it is time for Bruce to answer for his actions. The United States would like to know what Bruce Wayne and his vigilante team were doing fighting Ra's al Ghul while one of Bruce's team members murdered the entire presidential party. After this event happened, though, Bruce went home where he found Alfred still recovering from being resurrected. He held his hand after bringing him a crumpet, commenting that he probably burnt it. He then went out as Batman. 12 hours before this, and this is the memories that he was remembering during his adventure as Batman this night, is when the US government wanted answers. He remembered exactly what they said to him, and how much it angered him. They wanted to know what went wrong. What happened with Jackson Hyde? What was he talking to the president and president-elect about before the events? Bruce told them, I spoke with him about changing the world. And they asked him, what was the response? Bruce informed them, there wasn't one. We were interrupted by Ra's al Ghul's attacks. Did the president-elect seem to entertain your ideas of changing the world? Your views don't seem to align very well. I hoped we could find some common ground. I mentioned this, Mr. Wayne, because Jefferson Pierce was in that room as well, was he not? And he is now the highest-ranking member of Congress. He was also not in attendance at the inauguration. He is also the president now. Yes. So I would assume that he would be more amendable to your world-changing agenda. Bruce sees where this is going. The idea that he had everyone killed to allow Jefferson to take the presidency, and he doesn't like it, so he glares at the woman interrogating him. Mr. Wayne, that glare may work on the criminally insane inmates of Arkham that you can never seem to keep locked away, but it is far from appreciated in this chamber. While he's remembering these events, the US government implying that he had anything to do with Raz's attack, Bruce is stopping an armored car heist, and he continues to remember those questions. Why did you act on Raz alone without notifying the US government? I wanted to act against him quickly and quietly. And did you apprehend him or stop his terrorist operation? No. Mr. Wayne, did you threaten the president-elect in your private meeting? No. But you brought Jackson Hyde into that meeting. Yes. You have a history of threatening presidents, don't you, Mr. Wayne? 6 years ago, you entered the Oval Office to inform the current president that his body would be found floating around Saturn. You kidnapped Superman's parents. In the present day, while thinking about all of this, Bruce walks over to the 2 thugs that have fallen out of the armored car, and he picks up one of them by their shirt. Tell me, Mr. Wayne, as a man of incredible wealth and then as a vigilante, has the law ever applied to you? I have an enormous respect for justice. That is hardly an answer to my question, Mr. Wayne. Do you feel that you have failed this country? And Bruce was speechless, and he remembered that as he begins to beat the thug over and over. Let me tell you what I see, Mr. Wayne. I see another man who has put on a costume and decided to act for us rather than with us. Another man who believes that he has more right to decide our future than we do. Another man who has made things catastrophically worse. And another man of means who has completely failed to protect us. Superman had noble intentions too, but he was also trying to protect us. The only difference between you and Superman that I can see, Mr. Wayne, was that Superman was a far more competent dictator. And thinking that the United States sees Batman as no better than Superman, Bruce beats the thug so badly that he's bloodied and a mess on the ground until the whip comes out of nowhere catching his wrist. Catwoman stands behind him telling him to stop. The criminal scum has paid enough. I saw the hearing. Are you trying to take it all out on this one person's face? You're supposed to be locked away, Selina. It was boring, so I left. I honestly assumed someone would let me go at some point. I did what I did to keep you alive, Bruce. Can't you see that? Without a word, he tells her, come on. She follows him to the Batcave, where he speaks a code, and a second Batcave under the first Batcave is revealed. And Selina even says, of course, you would have a second Batcave beneath your first Batcave. He then reveals his new plan and his new goal. The computer program, Brother Eye. Meanwhile, there is a second story happening at the same time. Kara Zor-El, otherwise known as Supergirl, crash-landed on Kahndaq with Black Adam finding her. Damian and Black Adam have been training her, and now they are sending her off on their mission to rescue Wonder Woman from her imprisonment on Themyscira. On the island, Diana isn't exactly being a friendly prisoner, causing problems which result in her meals being taken away. She's chained to the walls with no weapons, and an army of Amazons keeping her prisoner. She truly has no hope of escape. As they leave her alone in there, Ares arrives to laugh at her misfortune, but he's also there to warn her. A weapon to end all weapons, and every war is being built. Once it's unleashed, there will be nothing to fight for any longer. She demands to know how she's supposed to beat this, when she can't even beat her imprisonment. They're using the chains that were built to hold Ares prisoner. He tells her that he needs her to remember who she was, and train the one who can stop this. Out on the sea near the island sits Kara, going over the potential targets on the island, learning of the Amazons. Damian sits nearby informing her that none of these people can beat her raw powers, but they are skilled and together they could overwhelm her. They even have magical weapons, which are her weakness. They exchange a few more words, and then Black Adam lifts the boat, throwing it into the ocean to destroy it, creating their fake story, the one in which Kara is a shipwrecked world explorer. The Amazons find her, and right away they decide that she is someone that they should help. But one slight problem arises as the new Wonder Woman welcomes her to the island. Damian turns to Black Adam asking, what are you gonna do if she hears the truth? And he looks at Damian. She does know the truth. Damian turns to him. Don't be dumb. You literally have the wisdom of an Egyptian deity. What happened with Wonder Woman is not as straightforward as you have made it seem. And over on the island, the Amazons are trying to figure out what to do with their new guest. They decided to bring the lasso of truth to her to get some answers, and they hit her with it and they ask her why she's on the island. So without the ability to lie, she tells them the truth. She's here to get Wonder Woman off of it. The first Amazon turns to her friend, telling her to inform Hippolyta what is going on, and then she asks who Kara is. The second Amazon instead knocks out the first one, holding the lasso, and turns to Kara. Not all of us feel Diana is in the wrong. We want to help you get off this island. She walks Kara downstairs where she meets with the rest of the resistance and the warriors who would rather see Diana free in the world to prevent man's world from ending everything. And as Diana's mother comes to speak to her, the group of Amazons is prepared to free her. They fight and they battle, but in the end, the queen got away and ran off to the Guardian Horn, where now Kara and the Amazon resistance must battle against every Amazon on the island. It's time for the War of the Amazons. It all began on Themyscira years ago, with Diana running through the forest and the Amazons chasing her down. They leapt on her back and they try to choke her out, and then they run up telling her to protect her front. Realizing that she was just ambushed, Diana presses her bracers together and boom! All of the Amazons are blown into the trees. Another of the warriors runs up telling Diana to stop what she is doing, just stop. She has injured her sisters and her dear friend Calliope. Another runs up demanding to know what Diana was thinking. She tried to defend herself, tell them that they ambushed her. But they insist. Amazons are to remain level-headed, and by using her godly powers, she made a callous and unfair call. She used those godly powers on beings that cannot handle them. Diana continued to try and defend herself, telling them that she was ambushed and told to fight as if this was war. If this was war, she would be an asset, not chastised for her actions. They tell her that while her powers and abilities would be an asset, her morals would not. She could have killed her friend. With tears welling up in her eyes, Diana tells her that Amazons have a duty to protect the world and fight for what's good. Then they point at her barely conscious friend. Tell that to Calliope. So Diana hangs her head in shame as she walks away. Thinking about what happened, she walked to the beaches of the island, and it's there that the story feels familiar to the ones who have heard this before. She finds a man on the shoreline, and he begs for help, dripping in water. The rest of the Amazons arrive, telling her to back away from the man, and this leads to us discovering the man that we will know as Steve Trevor, and he's led to a chamber with the rest of the women. The lasso of truth is thrown on him to force him to only answer the questions that they ask truthfully. Who are you and why have you come here is asked first. He explains that he is Steve Trevor and that his plane crash landed as he was delivering information on the war. He's been adrift for days until he found this island. Diana perks up. War? What war? Steve explains that there is a war of millions across the world fighting for what they believe is right and wrong, killing anyone in their way to prove their point. So they ask, what side do you fight on, Steve Trevor? And he explains, the right side. He's an American soldier for the Allies. They notice his smaller build and they mention that he does not seem to be a soldier, and he explains that he is actually a pilot flying planes. Diana decides that she will go with them to help fight this war, and this leads to the argument that once again you are probably familiar with, the Amazons telling her that she shouldn't go, this is not her battle. But Diana is insisting that the Amazons stop wars, and they fight for what's right, and they should be the heroes that they were in the ancient times. So Diana sets off on her battle to stop World War II, and she becomes a symbol of peace, hope, and freedom to the Allied forces, saving them and helping them win the war. Bombs are marked with the Wonder Woman logo as they are dropped on the enemies, and Steve and her begin to develop their own relationship. As the months go on, Steve gets word that there is a German spy locked up in the bunker, and they begin to run towards it as a bomb is dropped in front of them in the middle of London. Diana yells out that they have to help the survivors, but Steve insists that they need to get to the bunker. Diana doesn't listen, running through the smoke only to come back holding death in her hands. With tears in her eyes, she calls out that the child is dead. He is dead from this war. What kind of a monster would drop a bomb in the middle of a city filled with women and children? Steve looks at her. I told you this is different. They're willing to sacrifice anything to win this. And she tells him, this war needs to end now. So they get to the bunker where the German spy is sitting, and after Steve pretties his face up with his fist, he demands to know what information he was bringing back with the Germans. No matter how much blood is spilled, the soldier insists on only calling out Hitler's name, and Steve continues to pummel him until the blood is flown into the air and Diana has to stop him. They walk to the other side of the room and Steve is furious, punching the wall. He can't get any information out of them. He's doing nothing but wasting time. He presses his head against the wall of the bunker as he quietly wishes that there was a way to force out the information. Diana places her head on his back as she holds him, and she tells him, the lasso of Hestia. We can get it from the Amazon island. So they return to the island where Diana wishes to speak with her mother to plead her case to get them to help both her and Steve. She argues that the Amazon should be helping the men in this war, stopping the Nazis and bringing peace to the world. This is the mission of the Amazons. This is the mission that they were tasked with. Hippolyta doesn't think that the lasso should be trusted in the hands of men, as she feels that there is no goodness in their hearts. And oh, my dear listener, if only she'd know the truth. The real reason that Steve Trevor came to this island. You see, you thought you knew this story. You thought you could tell me where this was going to go. But I'm here to tell you, in the world of injustice, nothing is as it seems. Steve is not some Allied soldier who mistakenly crash-landed on the island. You see, while Diana was trying to convince them, Steve decided that they needed the lasso no matter what, and he snuck into the armory where he found it and he reached down for it. Behind him, an Amazon called out, "Man of war!" And he turned and opened fire, shooting the person in the stomach. That's when we see that it is a friend of Diana's and she falls to the ground dying, telling him, I followed. Diana said you needed help, and I believed in her. Steve just says, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And as she lay dying, she tells Steve, I just wanted to help. He grabs the lasso and he makes a break for it, and as he runs out of the cave, all of the Amazons are waiting for him, having heard the gunshot. They call out thief and Diana tries to stop them, but that's when another Amazon comes out stating that he killed Calliope, Diana's friend. He puts the lasso down and he goes to his knees with his hands behind his head to show that he is defenseless, and Diana turns to him, pushing him to the ground. Is this true? Hippolyta asks Diana, were you distracting us so that he could steal it? And Steve chimes in, I couldn't take the chance that you would say no. Diana grabs the lasso and wraps it around Steve a second time. You planned this from the beginning. You didn't tell me the truth. Hippolyta tells her that it's pointless. He was able to avoid the truth before. And Steve tells her, no, you didn't ask me the right questions. He struggles to get away from the truth, but it's pointless. A sweat begins to bead on his forehead. Diana asks him, where else did you skirt the truth? Are you an American soldier or is there more? And Steve tells her, no, I'm a German soldier. Diana asks him, is your love for me true or was it a lie as well? And Steve tells her, it is true, but my love for my homeland is stronger than any love for any woman. She tightens the lasso around his neck. You used me. You became the perfect cover, an allied celebrity. No one questioned it. I knew you would try to get the lasso for me if I seemed desperate. Diana stops him. That is enough. I love you, Steve Trevor, but you killed one of our own and you fight for a side that has committed unspeakable acts of violence against innocent people unable to defend themselves. These things I cannot forgive. It is the sacred duty of the Amazons to defend the world, and I will defend it from you. With that, she breaks his neck, ending his life. And from this change in her origin, we see the cold-hearted, callous Diana, the one that shows no mercy, the one that agrees to Superman's militaristic ways. The Amazons who believe in Diana are battling against the Amazons who are trying to keep her prisoner for her actions in the battle against Batman. As the blood of the Amazons hit the ground, Kara is handed a sword and told to fight while they become surrounded by the Amazons that are here to stop their mission. Nubia is wearing the Wonder Woman armor and looks at Antipy, telling her to stop what she is doing. Antipy asks her, "Have you ever known me to surrender?" Nubia then swings her sword, and with that, Kara steps forward, catching it mid-swing. She then proceeds to punch Nubia so hard in the stomach that she flies into the nearby wall. Seeing her power, the Amazons form around her, and the order is given to send everyone in to free Diana. Kara runs in, and Diana is in shock that this is even happening, but warns everyone that the chains are made by Zeus himself. There is no breaking these. Kara looks at them, wrapping them around her body before snapping them like twigs. And as Diana looks at Kara, realizing who this woman is, Nubia charges in, slamming her into a wall. She begins to pummel Kara over and over, breaking the very wall holding her up, until Diana catches her fist. "Sister, that armor does not belong to you." Nubia looks her up and down. "Diana, you've been in those chains for a while. You are weak." And Diana tells her, "Perhaps, but we are strong together." And that's when Nubia sees the people who came to save Diana standing behind her. The fight begins as Diana begins to beat down on this new Wonder Woman without very many challenges, and anytime that there is a misstep, her allies jump in to help her. Everyone runs outside, and Antipy calls for a retreat as Diana dons the Wonder Woman armor again. She punches through the wall now that she is free of the chains that bound her, and the Resistance runs for the beach, realizing that they are on an island with no escape. Kara points at the ship on the coastline, and everyone piles on, calling out to drop the sails and prepare to leave, realizing that they have very little time to do any of those things. So Kara flies in front of the ship, grabbing the ship itself and pulling it along, allowing Wonder Woman and the Resistance of Amazons to flee the island and be done with this. Now I'm going to explain real fast. All of the core plots in Injustice get put on hold at this point, while a smaller subplot is brought back up for a filler issue. But I had to tell it to you guys because it's a rather sweet story. As the boot hits the ground, Barry Allen thinks to himself, one more step. Ever since the events of Injustice, he's been allowed to be free with an ankle bracelet for his help in turning the tides of battle. But the ankle bracelet prevents him from running, and it checks if he ever goes that fast. As he walks with a backpack on, he thinks to himself, I am Barry Allen, the fastest man alive, and this is agony. He's currently standing on 90 miles of straight road in Australia. It used to be a nirvana for a speedster, but now for Barry, it's agony. It should be bliss for him, run and think. Now it's just think as he begins to trek down the road. You see, this road leads to Melbourne, Australia, and it is there that Barry Allen began to question Superman and Wonder Woman. There is a group of protesters and a superhero named Galaxor standing up against the two heroes. Together, they put the kid down. Barry stood there listening in hyperspeed as the boy's spine cracked. And when the boy was younger, he idolized Barry. The Flash was his favorite superhero, and the Flash just watched him die. As he's thinking about this, an 18-wheeler begins to jackknife right in front of him, and without even a thought, without even a hesitation, Barry uses his speed, knowing that Batman is tracking him, rescuing the truck driver. In mere seconds, he rescues the man as his ankle bracelet begins to beep. Batman calls him asking what he's doing, and Barry tells him that he isn't going to let this man die. Bruce goes quiet before telling Barry, stay out of trouble. Emergency crews are en route. Barry went to the house of the young boy, the one that he thought had died, and that is what he was told. But the boy didn't die, instead he was crippled, and they hid this fact to prevent the boy from being captured by the regime. The boy's mother brings Barry into the room, telling him that the other day, those heroes broke more than his spine. The boy, angry and hurt, looks at Barry. Who are you? What are you doing here? Barry looks at him. I was the Flash, and I wanted to talk to Galaxor. Mitchell looks at him. It was a stupid idea. No, it wasn't, Mitchell. You were a hero that day, and I wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. Sorry that I wasn't as brave as you. I ran, and I'm sorry that it took me so long to come back. I want to help you recover. Don't you have other things to do? And Barry smiled. I'm not in any kind of a hurry. This is where Barry stayed for a while, redeeming himself, helping the boy that he put down recover. Meanwhile, back over with Harley Quinn, she walks up to her sister's place with Lucy, her daughter. She just saved her from the situation with Ra's al Ghul, and it was time to bring her home. Her sister asks why she didn't contact her, and she explains that he lost her phone when the motorbike blew up, and that a bomb was put in her head, and that she worked for a shady group of villains, and then she got captured, and she got brought to a giant dome in the rainforest where she was forced to work as an eco-terrorist and save Lucy. And her daughter Lucy beams with pride. She fought ninjas! And then Harley says her goodbyes and begins to head off, but not before telling her daughter that she'll be back. Since she knows about her, she'll be sure to visit often and have a relationship with her daughter. She hugs her, telling her, "This isn't an ending, kiddo. I'm not giving up again." She returns home where she finds Poison Ivy waiting on her, and Ivy tells her that she'll let the plants die. Harley apologizes, telling her that it's been a while since she's been home, and Ivy confirms, telling her that it has been a while for her as well. All of the plants have died for her. Harley demands to know why Ivy is helping Ra's to begin with, what happened, and Ivy tells her to stand aside and don't fight this. Ra's is fighting for the planet, and Ivy needs to help him. Harley points her finger at her. "Tell me what Ra's is planning!" And Ivy looks at her. "Can we do this not tonight? Just for one night, not do this." They both lay in bed, and Harley tells her, "Sure, but I'm giving you hell in the morning." So, the next morning, Ivy slipped out before Harley woke, and when she did, she saw the apartment full of living flowers again. But Ivy didn't want to fight because Ra's al Ghul's plan is pushing forward with its next chapter. Above a town in Williams, Arizona, a shadow hovers in front of the sun. So a gentleman cooking on his barbecue looks up and realizes what it is far too quickly. "Honey," he tells his wife, "look up in the sky, it's a..." But before he can stop, in the middle of that famous catchphrase, he yells out, "Oh God, it's coming! Run!" And he shouts, pushing his wife aside. Suddenly, the robot Amazo lands on his body, crushing him into red goo. He launches into the sky, and he begins to use his heat vision to burn the entire town to the ground. There shall be no survivors. A young boy in a town of a population of 1,254 was wondering what the bright hot red light outside of his window really was. His cat leaped out the window to investigate, and the father shouted at his son, "Leave the damn cat!" Because within a few seconds, the population went from 1,254 to 704 to 187. The wall crumbled as Amazo broke through and looked at the 3 remaining people alive in the town, and the cat tried to save the day by hissing, but it didn't help. Not as Amazo looked at the family and burned them to their bones. Somehow, the cat remained sniffing the remains of its loving owners. Elsewhere in the Wayne Manor, a computer turned on, and Brother Eye, a system that was put in place by Bruce Wayne to watch for metahuman events. As he sits up in bed, he sees the report, and Selina Kyle rolls over in bed. She's a bit curious about the fact that Bruce has a large AI system watching over them. But Brother Eye explains that he was programmed to watch for large mass deaths, and the town of Williams is entirely deceased. Selina tells Bruce that she'll keep an eye on Alfred while he heads off to investigate, and he calls in Batgirl and Plastic Man, telling Plastic Man to leave his son at home. He doesn't want to see this. Batgirl is in shock. It's nothing but destruction and death around them, and while they look for survivors, they only find one thing: a puppy. Bruce quickly realizes that this is in fact Ra's, because all around them, everything except the animals and the environment is dead. That is what Ra's was protecting, which leads Bruce to ask the question, why this town? What's here? Across the globe, Ra's is walking with Solivar, the intelligent ape, and Evil Batman, as Evil Batman asks, why this town as well? Solivar explains, the innocents will die. We had to test Amazo. Plastic Man takes the dog with them as they begin to leave the town, and he sees a cat from earlier, the one who tried to protect its family. He asks it to come along, but it hisses at him, and Bruce tells them to load up. So they leave the cat there, and as they take off into the sky, our little cat stands watching, hissing. That is until a faint red glow approaches him again. But no, this time it is not Amazo. This time it is not heat vision here to kill him. This time, it's a ring. And this time, the cat is not afraid. Dex-Star of Earth, you have much rage in you. Welcome to the Red Lantern Corps. Everyone arrives with a quiver, and Batman is holding the puppy. Harley begins to freak out. Batman has a puppy. He holds out the puppy, presenting it to her. I thought you might like this. Me? Wow, you read that wrong. The last thing I need is another codependent relationship. You have a bat dog now. Green Arrow and Black Canary walk over, demanding answers as to why Bruce put a microchip in their son, Connor. He used that microchip to track down the location of Ra's al Ghul, as Ra's al Ghul had kidnapped their son. But before the fight can get much further, Bruce explains that 3,000 people just died in a town. Whatever it was a trial run for Raz's plans. He then explains that things are much worse. Even though Ra's is starting problems, they have the regime to be concerned about once again. Wonder Woman has escaped Themyscira. We need people and we need power. Green Arrow stops Bruce. Yo, it's not like superpowered people can just pop out of thin air. But Catwoman stops him. That's exactly what they do. When I was working for Superman's regime, I overheard something. The Titans are alive, and they're in Superman's Fortress of Solitude. He locked them in the Phantom Zone. So Bruce makes the call. We're gonna go break them out. But Harley stops him. First, mister, you are bringing your new puppy to his forever home. Bruce looks at O'Brien, and Plastic Man stops him as well. I am not taking that puppy home. You know how much food my son already eats? He then glances at Selena. I don't suppose you... Do you think I'm a dog person? I guess not. Good call, detective. Bruce went home, where he checks in on Alfred, who was recently resurrected by the Lazarus Pit, and he's beginning to get his memories back. And he asks him, Master Grayson is gone, isn't he? Bruce tells him yes, and he leaves him the puppy, someone to comfort him before telling Brother Eye to give him hourly reports on the both of them. The whole team is going to the North Pole. They stand in front of a giant door with a giant keyhole, looking for a way in. Of course, the simplest answer is to send Plastic Man and his son into the keyhole. Being indestructible and made out of plastic, they can bend, making picking locks kinda simple. But as the team standing there gets ready to enter, a blast of heat vision comes out of the door. The red eyes begin to walk, and the light begins to hit it, and they realize that this isn't Superman, but a bunch of robotic supermen there to kill them. The Eradicators. Bruce calls for the team to move as the heat vision blast, firing at everyone that they deem intruders. The new Steel slams their hammer across the jaw of one, launching it into an iceberg nearby, while Green Arrow fires an explosive into one of their heads. Pretty Bird, crash and cry, and Black Canary opens up on the Eradicator. Plastic Man runs out calling to his son, Luke, our more squishable friends need protecting. Wrap them up and get them out of here. While Plastic Man himself leaps up onto an Eradicator, putting himself into its brain to try and turn it off. Luke spreads out protecting Harley Quinn and Catwoman, and then he wraps up the entire team to try and get them out of there. But it's not working as the Eradicators grab and begin to pull Luke apart. He screams out that they're gonna tear him in half. Luckily, Plastic Man bursts out of that one, causing the problems, and everything stops when they hear someone yell out those very words. Stop! It's Pa and Ma Kent walking out. That confuses the heck out of Bruce. But John and Martha invite everyone inside, all except Harley Quinn. She is not welcome in this house, as the whole thing started with her and the Joker. They explain that after the government came for them, there was nowhere for them to go. Everyone saw them as Superman's parents, the people who kept a baby from a spacecraft, and that baby turned into a murderous dictator. Bruce looks up at them. I'm sorry. What Clark turned into wasn't the man that you raised. Don't try to appease our guilt, son. Where were you after Lois, when he needed a friend? Bruce looks down ashamed. I'm sorry, Mr. Kent. I tried to do what I felt was best, but I failed him. We all did. Martha looks at him. But that's why you kept Clark alive. You haven't given up hope on him. And Bruce tells her, I honestly don't know. But that leads to the question, why are you here? Bruce explains that the Titans are in the Phantom Zone. And Pa and Ma Kent both said that if they knew Connor was there the whole time, they would have tried to save him. They all go to the Phantom Zone portal where Plastic Man is going to go in because he can remain tethered to this world and go inside, get the Titans, and pull them out. Luke looks at his father. Are you sure about this, Dad? You don't know what's in there. And Plastic Man smirks. Haha, it'll be fine. I'm not easily spooked. But as he goes inside to rescue the Titans, finally, and bring them back, he looks around. And the only thing that he can say is, oh, this is f***ed. Batgirl calls out asking if Plas can hear her, and he tells her that it's like he's underwater. Guys, this place is weird, and this is coming from a guy who once spent 2 days pretending to be half of a caterpillar. He keeps walking around confused, lost, and slightly afraid, and he reports back that he feels like something is following him. He looks up to see the chunks of rock floating there, and he sees the prisoners on the rocks. Eventually, he finds them, though. The Titans. In front of him are Tim Drake, Starfire, Cassie, and Superboy. Tim knows him right away, and he asks, Plastic Man? Hello, Titans! Starfire asks him how he got there, and he tells her it's a long story involving twists, turns, betrayal, love, and dead sentient squirrels, plus talking chimps and zombie butlers. But forget all about that. This is gonna sound weird, but follow my arm! As Superboy turns his head, telling him that he can't. Of course you can! It's a single line, leading back out. But Superboy stops him again. I can't leave. I don't understand. Are you emotionally attached to your barren floating rock, or the vast void of nothingness around you? Starfire explains that he fought Superman and he hit him so hard that he injured Superboy's heart. It's the fact that time is frozen in this place that keeps Superboy alive, and if he leaves, he's going to die. Tim looks at him. It's all right, Connor. We'll find a way to get you back. And Connor tells him not to risk returning. But Tim keeps smiling. Titans always help each other, Connor. The whole team comes in for a group hug. Titans together. Connor and Cassie kiss, and Plas tells them all, you can look longingly into each other's eyes when we fix this, but we really gotta go. So, Plas did it. He brought out the Titans. And you're probably sitting there wondering where they came from. They aren't in the game, and you didn't even know they were missing unless you watched the annual video a while ago. But this can't be right and proper, can it? This can't be how the story ends. Batman can't just get the people that he wants and go off to save the day. Plas calls out that he feels like he's caught on something. But everyone is so happy to see Tim, Cassie, and Starfire that they don't even hear him. He tries again, but Batman can't hear him as he's looking Tim in the eyes. Tim. Batman. And with that, they hug and Tim tells him, I knew you'd come for us. I'm sorry it took so long. We didn't know you were there. Tim looks at Batgirl. Babs, how long was I in there? 6 years. The world has changed. It's not the place that you left. So Tim smiles. He doesn't care. Because there's one truth in this world. One thing that Batman has been missing since the start of this crazy, insane adventure. It's Batman and Robin, and Tim knows it. Can the world still use Batman and Robin? And Batman reaches out, grabbing his hand. I think that's exactly what's needed. Because this is the answer. This'll fix everything. The light to Batman's darkness, the Robin to his dark night is back. But Tim's eyes, they go wide. Batman steps back to see a blast of heat vision coming through Tim's chest. And as the light fades from Tim Drake's eyes, the life leaves him. He can only say, Bruce. And that's when we see how this goes wrong. We see what was holding Plas back, and General Zod rises out of the Phantom Zone. Batman runs to Tim's side as Starfire and Cassie throws Zod into a wall, and he returns with another heat vision blast. He then throws Cassie and Starfire away like used paper. Blast wraps around Zod, trying to hold him back, and still cracks him across his stupid face with a hammer. But it can't even stop him as he tears away at Blast at his son, and then he tries to bury Jonathan Kent as Harley saves him. The robot eradicators all arrive, but they are all simply destroyed by the strength of General Zod. It is Green Arrow who fires a literal green arrow into Zod's shoulder, piercing his skin and informing him. This kryptonite arrow came from home, and I have plenty more. Realizing he isn't fully powered up, Zod takes off, leaving the fortress just as Ali informs everyone else. It's a good thing you took that bluff, because I only got the one. With Zod gone, Batman looks at everyone holding the body of Tim, and Harley tells him, I'm sorry, you seemed better with him around. And Batman looks at her. I was. And he walks out. I'll bring back Zod alone. Brother Eye, prepare the box X in the cave. He teleports back to the Batcave and puts in the code, Endgame. Meanwhile, Zod is powering up his heat vision when he hears something in Kryptonian behind him. He turns around to see the giant bat suit, ready to fight. General, for your crimes, I sentenced you to an eternity in the Phantom Zone. Zod hits him hard, throwing the whole suit into the snow, and as he gets close, Bruce releases his secret weapon. The one thing that he made, but swore that he would never use against Superman. Kryptonite-laced fear gas. I swore that I would never use this against Superman, Zod, but you killed one of my boys. You should be afraid of me. Bruce picks up Zod by his hair, and Zod sees the horror of Batman as he informs him, because I'm going to f*** you up. He hits the ground as another fear vision takes form, that of Superman. General Zod, you failed Krypton. You let it die. Zod looks up at him. No, you were wrong. You were always wrong. You are not special. And the fear vision of Superman breaks Zod down. What's actually happening is Batman is beating into him. I have no idea what you're seeing, Zod, and I don't care. You've been judged and you're going back to the Phantom Zone forever. Meanwhile, Ross sees what's going on and they decide that maybe they should intervene. So he sends out a little weapon. Back with Zod, though, the slight problem arises as the gas wears off and he smirks at Batman. Your trick is worn off. I see you now. But before he can do anything, there's a flume! And something very large lands in front of him. In front of Zod is Amazo. You want here to aid me. Very well, I can deal with another metal monster. Except Amazo grabs Zod's punch out of the air, spins him around, puts him into a chokehold, and then rips his head off! Amazo then leaves, taking Zod's head with him. Bruce leaves in a hurry after telling Batgirl what just happened, and he walks into the hospital where Wildcat is on life support after the beating that he took saving the children. He walks right over telling Wildcat, I need you now. I've lost everyone from Dick to Damian to Tim. I can't lose another. I need to do something. We all need to, Wildcat. I'm sorry about this, but I know the truth about you, and that's why. He yanks out the life support, causing Wildcat to crash. You need to die! Everyone runs into the room to see Bruce standing over Wildcat as he tells him, Goodbye, Ted. The doctor rushes into the room with the alarms blaring. They all fight against Batman, telling him that Wildcat needs the life support. But Batman tells them, no, trust me. He leaps over the guards, trying to hold him back as the doctor tries to plug back in Wildcat. The doctor just panics, and then Wildcat sits up. Batman apologizes to him, telling him that one of his 9 lives are gone. I'm sorry about that, but I need to know where Charles is hiding. Batman and Wildcat get him and they bring him to the Fortress of Solitude, where they see the body of General Zod on ice, missing its head. Using Harley as the nurse and Green Arrow's kryptonite arrow, they prepare for the surgery that's going to be happening. They bring Connor Kent out of the Phantom Zone and he smiles, getting to see Ma and Pa Kent again. Then he hits the ground in pain from his heart problem. As he's put onto the gurney by Harley, he asks Batman how Tim's doing. Where is he? Batman tells him Tim's been sent on a mission. He asked to go. He wanted to get right to it and figure things out. Connor just smiled, telling him that that's Tim for you. And as Batman walked away, Cassie looked at him asking, "Really?" Batman told her, "The kid is already suffering from a broken heart. He doesn't need to know that his best friend has been lost before we're able to fix the first problem." They get to work right away and they cut him open, replacing his heart with General Zod's heart. And as he blinks, opening his eyes in the cold open air of the Arctic, we have the return of Connor Kent, of Superboy. But while this was happening, Black Adam made a play. He freed Wonder Woman with the help of Kara Zor-El, and it is now time for Wonder Woman's band of rebels to train the daughter of Krypton. Black Adam hits the ground as they call out to Kara to stomp on his testicles. She pauses for a moment, thinking that this is a bad idea, and he trips her and pins her to the ground, showing her that she should never hesitate in combat. Diana walks over, telling her that she shouldn't hesitate even with Black Adam. He is the only person that she can train against without hurting. Kara brings up fighting Diana, but Diana smirks. "I would crush you like a bug." Diana explains that she would not be holding back. That was her cousin's problem. He grew up so strong that he never learned to fight. She needs to be prepared to fight for peace. If she wants the peace in the world to remain, she must train. While this is happening, Jaime Reyes and Booster Gold are off training themselves. Floating in the air, Booster tells Jaime to focus. Jaime tells him Ted had battle bots for training. And Booster does his usual smile and he tells him, Ted had billions of dollars. We have tires. Jaime does what any questioning child would do. Am I gonna be fighting tires, Booster? No, there won't be any fighting if you just let them win. They're tires. They are representational. Of what? And Booster throws a tire at Jaime's head, bouncing it off of him. What was that? That was Darkseid. Darkseid's what? His fist? His Omega beams? His tire. While this little interesting training session is happening, Skeets flies up to alert them that someone has arrived at Booster's trailer. So they all go back to where the lawyer of the now deceased Ted Kord is standing to play a video. Out of the video pops a hologram of Ted Kord telling Booster that he now owns everything that Ted Kord owned. He owns Kord Industries. Booster's face is in shock, and then there's a sudden click as the hologram informs him that the photo of his surprise has now been sent to every superhero that he knows. Booster facepalms, telling the hologram, "You bastard." Jaime then listens as the hologram informs Booster that there's this kid. He's been training him, and he's been looking after him. Booster, can you keep an eye on Jaime for me? Train him to be the superhero that we should have been? I realize this is big, Booster, and I always rib you for being useless, but I never really thought you were. I trust you to step up. Love you, man. Back with Black Adam, Kara, Diana, and Damian, they get word that a city in Arizona has been completely decimated with no survivors from Ra's al Ghul's attack. Seeing this, Damian decides that it's time to return to his grandfather's army. He needs to know what happened. Why were so many people killed? He leaves, but not before telling Kara some final words of advice, as she has turned to him as a friend. She wanted him to stay, but he told her he couldn't. Because one day, you'll spread your wings. You'll leave your tower. When you're ready, nothing will stand in your way. Rapunzel will cut her hair, and you'll show the world what you can be. See ya, Supergirl. She took those words to heart, returning to her room to prepare her new image. She gave herself a haircut and opened up her hoodie to reveal the crest of the family, the House of El. Damian makes his way back to Gorilla City, where he runs into Animal Man and Vixen, and he tells them that he needs to know what happened to the town of Williams. But the Suicide Squad is currently at a meal where Orca walks over to see Croc and inform him that she is in fact pregnant. Deadshot spits his beer out over the news, and Orca simply walks away without any more information. Croc stands up telling the table that he should go, and Deadshot tries to stop him. I have so many questions! How? Why? Fresh water or salt water? Croc simply knocks him out and continues walking away. Back outside, Damian shows Animal Man and Vixen the mass destruction of the town, all of the lost lives, and all three of them are heroes in their own right. And this isn't what they signed up for. To kill everyone? There's no way to justify this. The three of them walk into the throne room where they find Solovar, Roz, and Grodd. He presents the evidence and he asks what happened, but Grodd asks if he lacks the stomach for what is needed, human. This leads Grodd to demanding to know why Solovar would even allow these humans to sit beside him on his throne. This is not the gorilla way. We should conquer and kill all humans. Animal Man tries to defuse the situation, telling Grodd, "Calm down, man," and Grodd backhands him, shouting, "I am no man." Solovar has had enough, demanding the guards remove Grodd, and Grodd asks him, "Do you really think the gorillas all agree with you in your lack of leadership?" Over with Roz, the daughter of Batman, Anasia leans in to tell him that this isn't good, and he whispers back, "Call our allies."
Solovar gets up at this betrayal, and Grodd throws a spear, pinning him to his throne. So Solovar gets up again, using his mind control to stop every guard from breathing. He then steps up to Grodd. You want to challenge me? Show me your revolution. The two sides of Gorilla City begin an all-out war amongst themselves, and regardless of agreeing with Roz or not, at this point, Damian, Anasia, Roz, and Animal Man work together to get out of the city. They're quickly stopped by some of Grodd's guards, telling them that there will be no more protection for them. There is only death. Vines then begin to creep behind them, and they begin to grab the gorillas' faces and crush them. Poison Ivy steps out, telling everyone, this way. And as another gorilla leaps behind her to return the favor, the daughter of the bat puts a bullet in its brain. As Roz tells her, they can't leave. We've worked too hard. We need my Amazo weapon, and for all of this to succeed, we'll need Solovar to be king of Gorilla City. They ask what they do, and Roz tells everyone that he has planned for this since they arrived. They just need Amazo. Outside of the cell that Ivo and Amazo are in, stand the Suicide Squad and our evil gun-wielding Batman. The battle for the weapon begins as the guards all run at the squad, and as one of them almost kills Orca, Croc bites his head off. Orca looks at him with love in her eyes. Did you just eat a sentient gorilla for me? I would eat 1,000 sentient gorillas for you. And the giant half Orca and the giant half Croc kiss. Deadshot turns and sees it and simply says, that is so messed up. Roz makes his way inside and he turns on Amazo with one simple task. The heat vision burns the gorillas, and as Grodd tries to mind control the robot, he realizes that he's a metal man. You have no mind, metal man. And Amazo flies in, ripping the helmet off of Grodd's head, and then he slaps on a device to depower his mind control. I have a mind. Grodd hits the ground, complaining that it's too quiet, and Solovar comes to kill him. But Roz stops him, telling him, you will only turn Grodd into a martyr. Grodd demands to know if Solazar knew that this device existed, and Solovar says nothing. He then calls him the human's monkey. Dance, monkey! Grodd and his helpers are sent into the forest in exile, and then Amazo is sent on his first true mission, with everyone on Roz's side once again. He calls back to Wonder Woman Diana and Black Adam to inform them that the ultimate weapon is loose. This is kinda bad. Kara tells Diana that she wants to help, and Diana tells her that her and Black Adam will handle it, asking Damian where they go as she leaves the headquarters on the Amazon island. Up at Delhi, a child calls to his father that there's something in the air, and up above them is a robot known as Amazo, arriving at the location. His eyes begin to glow as Damian explains that Delhi is the perfect location for his father's rebalancing of Earth's population. It is 19 million people to be culled, and that's when Amazo blasts the street with his heat vision. He begins to focus on one spot, and from miles around you can see as the explosion grows in size and mass. Damian continues to explain to Wonder Woman the situation though. Amazo is a robot with the destructive power of the entire Justice League. No one knows how it was created, but it has been. This city being destroyed is just the beginning, and if they don't stop Amazo here, he will not be stopped, and billions will die. Back in the Batcave, Batman gets word of the situation as Brother Eye informs him of an attack that has begun. His eyes go wide with the realization as to what is happening, and he puts on his cowl, telling Brother Eye to open up the emergency channels. He informs everyone, from Green Arrow to Dinah, from Steel to Harley. The call even reaches the Fortress of Solitude, where Wonder Girl checks in on Connor Kent, who's recovering from his heart surgery. She tells him of the situation and that they are needed, and he debates what he needs to do. But the fact is, even if he is not fully healed yet, he cannot let billions die. That's when John and Martha Kent come over to inform him that she has a gift for him, something that he has needed for a while. The original Superboy suit. He puts it on as Martha tells him that the world is going to need hope again. They're going to need to feel that there is a future, and maybe, just maybe, Superboy can bring them that. So the battle begins with everyone versus Amazo. As Amazo continues to burn the city to the ground, the heroes are all teleported in. Green Arrow looks down at the skeletons that are burned so thoroughly that nothing remains but ash and bone. And up above them, Steel, Wonder Girl, and Superboy come flying in. And Batman, from his suit of armor, tells them to take on the target while everyone else evacs the city. Arrow turns to Batman, I can help with the robot. And Batman tells him, no, stay on evac. It's Harley who has to talk sense into them, telling them to stop arguing. We have to save people. Amazo opens up by backhanding Superboy across the face, as Starfire opens up with a blast of her energy. Cassie follows up with a punch across Amazo's face, as Steel slams her hammer onto the back of his head. They all jump on him, holding back his arms and his head, while Batman continues to scan for weaknesses
weakness as the computer reports there's nothing. Amazo is perfect. With that, Amazo throws the heroes off of him, and then he throws Batman's suit into the ground. He rises again, prepared to burn everyone, and Green Arrow calls out, "I got this!" He pulls back the bowstring and he fires a nuclear arrow at Amazo's head. Harley asks him, "What was that?" And he tells her, "Nuclear arrow." And she asks, "That was on your back?" But it's Dinah who snaps, "That was in our house with our child?" Ollie tries to defend himself, telling her, "It was on a high shelf." But the safety of the children with a nuclear arrow doesn't matter as Amazo gets back up, blasting the space that Arrow and Dinah are on. Superboy comes rocketing and slamming into Amazo, sending him flying. And that's when we see Speedster Lightning as the Flash got Green Arrow and Dinah just out of the way in time so that they weren't going to be murdered. That's right, the Flash is now ignoring the rules of no powers, and he got here like lightning. He then proceeds to get the people out of the crumbling buildings. But back with Amazo, he tears the helmet off of Batman as he rips the arms off of the suit. But before he can murder the Dark Knight, a shield bounces off of his head, and there stands Wonder Woman in her battle armor. Superboy floats nearby as Batman gets up and Wonder Woman tells them, "We have work to do," as the new Trinity stands before Amazo. But while this is happening, back at Ra's al Ghul's castle, there are people who do not agree with Raz's culling tactics. He reports to everyone that they have succeeded in killing over 100,000 people already. And even with Batman's forces, there is no stopping this. Vixen hears that word, progress. But Damian stops her and tells her to come with him. During all of these adventures, there has been one individual that has taken up the name of the Bat. He decided that he was better for the job and that the Batman title should not be with Bruce Wayne any longer. Though he decided that Bruce's methods were child's play, he had his own plans for it. Plans that involved guns and killing anyone. This evil Batman just overheard Damian walking out, and with a red glow in his eyes, he looks to the door. In the hallway, Damian, Animal Man, and Vixen walk through as Vixen tells Damian that she will not stand by while genocide takes place. She stops to question herself. She was a hero who thought that Ra's was doing the right thing. She thought this was the answer. But Damian agrees. He thought this was the right answer as well. He turns to the group. "We won't win blindly if we attack Solovar and Ra's, though." Animal Man agrees, telling the group that they need to be smarter, and that's when evil Batman pulls his guns out, pointing them at the group. There's nothing smart about this. Back on the battlefield, Black Adam brings the lightning down, shouting, "Shazam!" And Amazo isn't even fazed as he takes a shot at Black Adam's mouth. Ray Palmer, Adam, comes running up to Batman's side asking, "Where do you want me?" And so he reports in, "Amazo has the powers of the entire Justice League, with no apparent weakness." Adam takes the hint, running in. "So you want me to take a closer look? I got you." He shrinks down, jumping into Amazo's nasal cavity. As Amazo lifts Superboy into the sky, Adam reports back that whatever this brain is, it's beautiful. Batman asks what he's talking about, and Adam reports that there's no way on Earth anyone could have made this. He takes a closer look and sees a symbol, one with 3 dots, all connected. "I think whoever made this repurposed alien technology, Batman." And that's when he realizes he isn't in the brain alone. There are nanites in here with him. He begins to run, trying to get away, and realizes he has one escape, to go smaller than he has ever gone before. But as he tries to, a nanite grabs him by the leg, cutting off his leg. Realizing that he can do nothing but listen to his friend die, Batman calls out, "Ray!" And back at Raz's castle, Vixen gets ready to fight the evil Batman as Animal Man morphs as well, preparing. But Damian stops everyone. "Don't be an idiot. You can't possibly support this. My grandfather is right about the world, but what he is doing is wrong and you know it. Innocent people are dying. Is that what you want?" "No, I only want the guilty to suffer." "Of course, because you're not a butthead. And you're not Batman. You're not afraid to do what needs to be done, and you are so much more than Batman is. Take off the damn mask. Help us. Jason, help us!" Back on the battlefield, Plastic Man is trying to wrap up Amazo while his son watches, and the rest of the team goes to check on Bruce Wayne. Harley informs the team that he is Batman, so he probably has bat breath or something that can carry an emergency electromagnetic pulse or something. They just have to get him out of here. Dinah tells Harley that Bruce wouldn't want to leave, and she quickly counters with, "Sure, once he's awake again, I'm sure we'll never hear the end of it. Look, you have a kid. Just take him and get out of here." Back in Gorilla City with Professor Ivo, the creator of the Amazo robot, there's a loud cracking noise on the floor, and out crawls a weird human bug-like hybrid. Animal Man tries to hush Professor Ivo, but behind him we see who is leading the charge as Vixen, Jason, and Damian all crawl out, with Jason commenting that a half-human, half-caterpillar hybrid crawling out of the floor probably wasn't going to get a calm response. They tell Professor Ivo that he is coming with them, and he snaps, telling them that he can't leave. "Ra's is crazy. He sent pieces of my children to me. If you have me leave, you're putting them in danger." And Jason coldly tells him, "They aren't in danger because they're dead, Ivo. They fought us while being transported and they were killed. I'm sorry." Professor Ivo begins to break down and Jason shouts at him, "Take control of your damn monster, now!" Ivo looks around realizing the request and he tells them, I can't. If I could, Roz would already be dead. Amazo will only follow Roz's orders till he returns and only listen to Roz himself. There must be something, Professor. There were bugs early on. I could slow him down, but with all of the heroes fallen, who's going to stand up against him? And Damian realizes that it's time. No, Professor, not all of the heroes have fallen. He puts in a call to Kara Zor-El, Supergirl. He tells her the situation. The heroes have fallen, and he knows that they are worried about exposing her to the world, but they need her or everyone may die. She takes off her hoodie, revealing the symbol of hope, walking out of her room where the Amazons are waiting. They ask where she intends to go, and she tells them to help. But instead of stopping her, the response is simply, it's about time. Back over in Delhi, Amazo is tearing through Plastic Man, and Wonder Woman is trying to just crack the outer layer of this robot. He turns, grabbing her by the wrist, pushing her down to the ground. You haven't won yet, monster. There's always hope. Hope? And that's when he sees the secret weapon of Earth floating there. Hey! We pan back to see Booster, Gold, and Blue Beetle. Yeah, that's right, I'm talking to you. Wonder Woman looks over knowing that this is bad. Oh no. Come and face the blue and the gold, big baddie. And in response, Amazo blasts Booster Gold, launching him through 4 buildings. As Blue Beetle morphs his arms into blades, he dodges the attack before lunging in, trying to pierce the hide of that robot. But as he gets closer, Amazo is suddenly lifted off of the ground at breakneck speeds. Supergirl is swooping in, grabbing him, and she reports back to Damian, who is talking in her ear. Damian, I have Amazo. Push as fast as you can. Get him away from the civilians, Kara. But Kara doesn't respond because she is moving so quickly that she just exited orbit and slams Amazo into the moon. Damian reports to Kara that she has to keep him on the moon, and as he grabs her by the throat, he puts her in a headlock, prepared to snap the Kryptonian's neck. Ivo continues trying to type away, trying to exploit a weakness or two, something to give Kara a fighting chance. And that's when Anasia walks into the basement asking what everyone is doing here. She brings her guns out and tells everyone to back away or she's gonna shoot anyone who moves. And Ivo presses a button that turns on the weaknesses, and that's when the daughter of Batman shoots him in the head. At that moment on the moon, Blue Beetle blasts Amazo, freeing Kara, and then he asks if she's okay. But while she's looking at him confused, and he debates if she can even hear him in the black void of space, Amazo turns with one heck of a punch. Kara catches his fist and then stares at him in the eyes as she burns away at his flesh. It's at that moment that Damian is telling her that while he's still strong, Ivo gave him a weakness to heat, followed up by an ice blast as Damian says ice as well. And then Damian tells her pressure, so she winds up and grabs the frozen head of Amazo, ripping it off. And with that, Amazo is finally defeated. Blue Beetle looks up with a smile on his face. Oh man, the world is a freaking Supergirl! Back on Earth, the real Batman stood on the battlefield with his team while Wonder Woman stood there. He looks around the destroyed town, calling out, telling them all to stand up. And Wonder Woman places her head to the hilt of her sword, commanding the same for her team. Those two teams were enemies moments ago, but now they are being the superheroes that they need to be, checking on everyone that was injured against the Amazo robot. Wildcat runs over to get Superboy up and he asks where Cassie is. And that's the first Diana has heard that Wonder Girl has survived. She turns panicking, realizing that Cassie is in fact alive, and she runs over to the rubble looking for her. She grabs the piece of rubble on Cassie, lifting it up, and she reassures her that she'll be okay. But Cassie looks her dead in the eyes. I don't need your help, Diana. Diana ignores that, asking her what she's doing here. And Cassie tells her, Superman imprisoned us in the Phantom Zone. Diana's shocked, eyes wide as she realizes what this means. I didn't know. I promise I didn't know. Over with Booster Gold, he gets up with his bruised ego as Harley asks him if he's alright. He rubs his head, telling her, Don't worry, my head cushioned the fall. Your costume's amazing! It's like you're compensating for so much and trying to make yourself feel better. You even gave yourself a big star in the middle. Good for you! Batman walks over. Booster, are you in contact with Blue Beetle? Where is he? And over on the moon, Supergirl and Blue Beetle are standing over the crushed body of Amazo. Looking at the device that houses his brain, Supergirl gets memories of Brainiac himself attacking Krypton. But then she realizes that she's now run out of air as she used it all up to freeze Amazo. Blue Beetle makes a tent around her asking who she is, and she tells him she can't say. She crushes the brain of Amazo and then asks Blue Beetle not to tell anyone about her. Please. He agrees, and they have a secret from Batman. Meanwhile, in Gorilla City, Anasia, Batman's daughter that he is unaware of, is still battling against Damian and Jason. Ultimately, Animal Man and Vixen manage to subdue the girl, and she calls out to the Suicide Squad, announcing that Damian has betrayed the family. They begin to make a break for it, with her shooting at them, and Animal Man is attacked by a man-bat as a tree sprouts out of the ground, slamming both Animal Man and Damian. The grip grows tighter around him, and knowing that this is going to be the end, he yells out for Vixen to get Damian out of here. But that's when it doesn't matter, because a bullet passes between his eyes, killing him off. Damian is then grabbed by another tree, and Jason calls out to Vixen that they have to return, but she tells him Damian is lost. There's nothing that they can do. Back in Gorilla City, Roz demands to know what happened and why Anastasia killed Ivo. She explains that Ivo was sabotaging them, but Roz tells her it's not her call to make. There's nothing that he can do to save her now. That's when she feels the big gorilla hand on her shoulder, and handcuffs are slapped on as she calls for her grandfather and is hauled away. Solivar informs Roz that his family will be publicly executed, but as she is being brought to the cell with Damian, an unexpected blade is shoved through both of the gorillas, and there stands Talia. Talia tells them that she has failed them both, failed in protecting them, and failed them when she let Anastasia be taken by Roz when she died. She walks over to the elevators and tells them to leave, go wherever they want to. And Anastasia asks where should they go. But Talia doesn't offer any advice on that part. Back on the battlefield though, Batman tells Green Arrow to start moving the civilians out in case the android comes back. And Arrow tells him that it's already done. It doesn't take long for the world's greatest detective to realize the Flash was here and used his powers. And he's not happy about that. Up above, Blue Beetle returns telling everyone, hey, it's over. The android's been handled. And of course, everyone wants to know how, so Beetle tells them, he seemingly malfunctioned on the moon. Just boom. Well, not boom, there's no sound in space, but you get that. Wonder Woman turns to Black Adam, telling him that they're leaving, and Batman grits his teeth. Tell me what happened here today. Diana grabs her hilt, and it's Connor who comes over to tell them to stop. Too much has already happened here. And that brings us to Wayne Manor, where Selina is playing with Ace, Alfred's new dog. Alfred comes in and puts a leash on the dog, and Selina begins to hear some beeping of the smoke alarm in the kitchen. Alfred is stunned and confused. He looks around, unsure as to what's happening, and Selina tells him that it's okay. He shouldn't try cooking it. He was just revived from the Lazarus pit. She'll take care of it. She walks over to the kitchen, and it's there that she finds the culprit, a burning kettle of tea. She calls out to Alfred, but the response isn't from him. Instead, it's a no and then a gunshot in Selina's stomach. Hearing this, Alfred walks over with the barking dog, and he walks into the kitchen, and it's there that he sees Anastasia with two pistols pointed at his head. While this is going on back at Wayne Enterprises, there's a meeting happening. Bruce tells his team that Roz is right, they need to save the world from itself. But before they can go any deeper into it, he gets a call from Brother Eye, the security system that he has placed around the world and in his own home. Brother Eye informs him that half of the building's cameras are now offline. He turns to the group telling him that he has to go. There's an issue with his security system back at his house. Booster chimes in. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Bruce snaps at him. My system is a little more complicated than that, Michael. But then he turns away from him. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Brother Eye responds that he tried that, and then informs him that Selina and Alfred are in the dark wing. He turns to leave, and Black Canary tells him that whatever is happening, he doesn't have to deal with it alone. He reassures her, though. It's fine. There's a teleporter in the other room. I'll be back quickly. Just wait here. He teleports into the Batcave, where he throws on the Batsuit and walks over to the last known location to find a pool of blood. Taken aback, he cries out, no, not again. He runs towards the master bedroom, calling out, Alfred! And when he swings the door open, he sees him sitting there. Alfred turns to him, Master Bruce. And Anastasia is sitting on a chair across from them with a gun at Alfred's head and one to the dog's head. Batman asks her what she wants, and she smirks. Oh, it's simple. Alfred stands up. I will not let you hurt him. Alfred, I have no quarrel with you. You and I, we both seen the other side. You can still feel it, can't you? At the edges. The little pieces missing that have been replaced by the bits that you brought back. Alfred doesn't answer, stepping between Bruce and his daughter, and the dog barks. Bruce tries to tell Alfred to move. Anastasia snaps at the dog, telling it to be quiet. Bruce reaches over to pull Alfred out of the way, but Anastasia doesn't see that now. She just hears the dog. Bark, bark, bark. She cries out, shut up! And that's when a gunshot can be heard throughout the Wayne Manor. She looks up wincing. No, 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 look what you made me do! She holds up the dead body of the puppy, and Alfred feels her pain. Oh, child. I didn't want to, it just wouldn't shut up. She then turns the gun to Bruce's face. Why does everything that you touch have to die? Alfred asks her for the dog's body. and Bruce knocks the gun away. In one swift move, he disassembles it and then catches her attempt at punching him. She fires the other gun, firing it next to his head, and Alfred calls out, so she hits him in the back of his head with the butt of her gun. She stands over the unconscious Bruce and Alfred and the dead puppy. When Bruce comes to, he's missing his cowl, and he looks up at his daughter.
I'm sorry. I didn't know about you.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you're sorry, and I don't believe you didn't know. The world's greatest detective didn't know that he had a daughter? I don't buy it. I just think you don't care.
Where's Selena?
Either dead or bleeding to death, but that's not entirely true. As Selena has managed to crawl out of the kitchen and is making her way to find a first aid kit. When she gets to the Batcave, Brother Eye informs her that it is being kept inside of the giant dinosaur. And she says, of course, that's where you would keep your first aid kit. Brother Eye then informs her of the intruder and shows her the situation in the master bedroom, so she puts out a call. But back in the bedroom, I was born and you weren't there. I died and you weren't there. The man who was, he raised me and you stopped him, and now he has turned his back on me. You took his dream and our future along with it, condemning this planet to a slow, painful death. She steps back, placing the gun to Bruce's head once again. I don't want redemption. I don't want a father. I just want to do one more thing right. And that's when the windows are blown out and a smoke arrow is fired in. Anasia is quickly subdued, and then Batman's team arrives, having been called in by Selena. Once they free Bruce, Dinah looks at him. We thought your entire world might be saving. And Bruce stops and looks at her. Thank you. But back in the year 2 of the fight, something happened. Something that changed everything. 200 Green Lanterns, chosen as the finest, most fearless warriors in the universe. They were killed, all by Superman and his army. And who had a hand in that? Well, Hal Jordan did. Right now, he stands in chains at Oa to answer for his crimes against the Green Lantern Corps. The Guardians ask how he pleads, and Hal tells them, guilty. Guardians look at each other and then down to him again. What's worse is what you did. You did under the influence of the Yellow Lantern ring. There is no excuse for that. No. However, we acknowledge the universe would not even exist without the good that you have done. You will not be hidden away to rot where your potential will be wasted. Instead, we will send you to the prison colony of Herring, where you will work to prepare the planet for the recolonization of its populace. Hal looks at them while Guy Gardner stands next to him. It's more than I deserve. We then go to the planet, with the sun beating down and Hal digging a shovel into the ground. Guy Gardner stands next to him. This is your part to play in the universe? What a crappy part. Hal looks up at him. I'm sorry. But Guy shrugs it off. So you keep saying, this is an entire universe of possible punishments and they have you digging. I reckon it's because the Guardians don't have a creative bone in their body. Think about it. They get into a battle and they have a weapon which they can make anything with. And what would they probably make? A perfectly geometric cube. Oh no, Darkseid's pushing it aside. Hurry, make another cube. Hal chuckles at his friend's jokes. But due to his laughter, a green fist flies over, knocking him over, and Sornik arrives asking Hal, what's so funny? Hal looks at her. It's kind of a misuse of the ring. And she snaps, you're going to lecture me, Hal? You? I've learned all the lessons I need from you. And Guy chimes in. Ouch. Sornik continues though. You know, when I first became a Lantern, I spent a week on Mogo, spending it with the animals, swimming in his oceans, climbing his mountains. And now everything there is dead because of you. You stood by and did nothing, Hal Jordan. You allowed the last surviving member of a dead planet to become the murderer of another world. As Hal begins to reflect, he sees another cell arriving on the planet. And once it opens, a couple of prisoners come out, but one sneering man is in that batch. Sinestro. Guy leans into Hal's ear. He tricked you, Hal. You know that, right? Sinestro played you every step. Hal thinks about it and he jumps at Sinestro, which got them both into solitary confinement, where Guy is in the cell with them. Well, solitary confinement's a bit cramped, but it's so worth it, man. I've never seen that smug drain from his face so quickly. Hal doesn't look up. Hal hears Guy's voice, but he doesn't look up. I'm sorry. Guy gets all serious. So you keep saying. And then Hal sees the truth. It's been looking at him the whole time. He sees Guy Gardner, one of his best friends, missing his ring arm in his civilians. Sorry it doesn't bring me back, Hal. You tore my arm off and let me fall to the planet. Then, Guy was gone, and Hal didn't see him that night. But elsewhere, on this planet, someone else is making a move. As Tomar Ray flew off to investigate something, a cat's paw took a swipe at his throat, and we see Red Lantern Dexstar. A green ring begins to fly throughout space looking for a replacement, scanning. But back in the cell, Guy says, I'm bored. Hal tells him he knows, and Soranik walks in. She informs Hal that he's getting out of confinement the next day if he promises not to beat up other prisoners, and then asks who is he talking to. Hal tells her no one, just the past. She then walks over to Sinestro's cell to ask him one question. What happened to her mother? He looks at her. She was assassinated. Soranik tells him she doesn't believe that. She looked into everything that happened that day. There's no sign of forced entry. And Sinestro looks at her, telling her, I loved your mother, and I was angry when she sent you away, but I did not kill her. Soranik looks at him. I didn't say you did. She took her own life, didn't she? Sinestro stops her. Careful, girl. At that moment, she gets a call in the ring telling her that a Green Lantern is down. She turns her back for a moment, and Sinestro takes that chance to leap out of the cell, grabbing her lantern ring. She isn't one to be trifled with, though, as she throws him to the ground and blasts him through the wall, right into Hal Jordan's cell. Hal looks at her. Soranik, don't do this. You're too good to go down this path. And she looks at him. Get out of my way. I'm not gonna kill him. I'm not you. She pins Sinestro against the wall when she calls in the situation and finds that Tomar Ray is dead, and it took him out before he could raise an alarm. But before they could do anything else, reports of multiple targets approaching come over the ring. And a blast of rage, a red beam hits the prison, destroying it. Up above them all, Soranik holds a shield in place, and Dexter calls out, See? Found prey! And the Red Lanterns look at Sinestro. Hal and his vision of Guy look up with Guy panicking. Hal, that is clearly a talking evil kitty. Yeah. Like, not some kind of alien feline creature, just a malevolent talking house cat in a little suit. Yeah, that is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, and I'm saying that as the spectral manifestation of your own guilt, Hal. Atrocitus, the leader of the Red Lantern Corps, looks down at the three of them, telling them, I only want Sinestro. Tear the Green Lanterns to pieces, slowly. The Red Lantern Corps begins to bombard Soranik's shield. Sinestro jumps in the way of his daughter before she can be killed, though this does cause Atrocitus to pause. Meanwhile, some of the other Green Lanterns arrive nearby, overlooking from a cliffside where they request permission to kill. Atrocitus looks at Sinestro. Who is she to you? As Sinestro spills the beans, this is my daughter. As the Red Lanterns try to figure that out, the Green Lantern on the cliff opens fire with a sniper shot at one of the Red Lanterns going through his head. An all-out fight breaks out with red constructs versus green constructs. But that isn't the important bit right now. The Red Lantern who died, his ring begins to roll across the dirt away from Hal and Sinestro. Sinestro noticed it, and so did Dead Guy. Hey Hal, that is not a good thing! Sinestro jumps on the ring, trying to put it on his finger, but Hal leaps on his back, holding him up. That's when Soranik fires a blast right between them, separating them, except the ring ended up on a hand. The glow of a Red Lantern forms around Hal, and we hear the words, Hal Jordan of Earth, you have great rage in your heart. You belong to the Red Lantern Corps. Hal yells out, Run! I can't control this! Back in the fight, Dexter begins to breathe the napalm blood of the Corps onto the Green Lantern, and that's when Hal soars into the fight with red constructs for everyone. The Green Lanterns try to help, but there's so much rage in his heart he tells him, back off! And he continues to become consumed by it. That's when the Red Lanterns give up fighting, trying to hold him back, as Atrocitus asks him, how are you so full of rage? And Guy tells him, go on Hal, tell him the truth. Atrocitus asks him, what do you hate? Only for Hal to tell him, myself! He yells out in rage, release me! And he creates a sword hitting one of the Red Lanterns while they all want to kill Hal. That's when Atrocitus moves forward. Wait, this is not the first time you've wielded a ring, is it? You are Hal Jordan. Your betrayal of the Guardians, the dead Green Lanterns in your wake. News of your treachery and violence have spread across the galaxy. Guy looks at him. Oh yeah! Congrats, Jordan. You're a big name in the intergalactic psychopath circles. Do we have to tear you to pieces or will you join us, Jordan? Guy whispers in his ear. Just tell them what they want to hear. Don't be you. Bleach chimes in, telling him, fine, he's one of us. Let's catch those Green Lanterns and punish Sinestro. But Atrocitus looks at her. No, they're already there. It's time to think bigger. It's time to think of the fall of Oa. He takes all of the Red Lanterns, Hal included, to what seems to be a planet to recruit one more member for an assault on Oa. Everyone watches as the planet begins to change red and becomes fueled by rage. Hal looks at the newest Red Lantern, Starro the Conqueror. Guy looks worried. Hal, that is Starro the Conqueror as a Red Lantern. Right, well, that's pretty much the single worst thing imaginable. Bringing us to today, to the home of Jaime Reyes, where his parents knock at his door and he quickly loses his costume. His father, with coffee in hand, looks at him. You have friends at the door, and one of them's kind of orange. Jaime walks to the front door to find the Titans there. Starfire, Superboy, and Cassie all in civilian clothes, though Starfire is still kind of orange. She still kind of stands out. He slams the door behind himself and he steps outside. First of all, it's incredibly awesome the freaking Titans are on my doorstep. Second of all, the freaking Titans cannot show up on my doorstep. Starfire counters, telling Jaime that they are in their civilians. And Jaime points out the obvious, that doesn't hide the fact that you're an alien. He yells back to his parents that he's going out with friends, and they ask Jaime to please introduce them. Connor waves, telling them hello, his name is Connor, but Starfire once again doesn't quite get it, and she steps up to shake their hands. I'm Corey, Princess of Tamarin. Jaime rolls his eyes as they walk away, and they make their way to Cord Industries, current home of Booster Gold. Booster welcomes everyone and informs them that he has cold pizza in his fridge, to which Cassie asks, aren't you a billionaire now? And he turns back, yeah, you heard me right, I own the fridge. Everyone has a seat where Jaime then asks what's up, and Connor informs him that they want to expand the Titans. Jaime sits there pondering. I don't really know the community. I mean, I don't know who I could suggest. Steel seems kind of cool. Booster overhears this and walks over laughing. And Cassie looks at him with hope in her eyes. We'd like you to try it for the Titans. Jaime is speechless. A short while later, they all fly off, leaving him there to think about it. Booster and Skeets both laugh at Jaime for not understanding why they would seek him out. But before anyone can do anything, Skeets calls out, raise the defenses! And the top floor of Cord Industries explodes. With the chug 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 of the space motorcycle, Lobo himself rides up. He grabs Jaime in the Blue Beetle suit by the throat, he lifts him off the ground and throws him over his shoulder. Booster gets up, dusts himself off, and he opens fire on Lobo, which honestly doesn't amuse the main man as he backhands Booster into the back of the room. He lights up a cigar, and he straps Blue Beetle to the front of his bike. Skeets tags the bike with a tracker, and Lobo rides off just as the rest of the building comes down on Booster. The Titans didn't get far enough, and they turn around and head back to see whoever survived. They pull Booster out of the rubble, and he tells them, Lobo took the kid. Once out in space, though, Jaime wakes up, and Lobo tells him, it's fine. The man who wanted you alive. Jaime realizes that he's strapped to a space bike, and he begins to power up. So Lobo sucker punches him again. Back on Earth, Booster then asks Skeets how the tracker is holding up. He informs him that it's working, but its range is not infinite. They need to hurry. So Booster puts his hands together. Okay, first, we need a ship. Cassie asks him, don't you own $1 billion company? And Booster smiles. Oh yeah! Skeets, do I have a space program? But Connor has a better idea as the whole group moves off to the Hall of Justice where the Javelin is parked. With a little help from Skeets, the ship powers up, and the alarms begin to blare as they take off into space. But with an alarm, there has to be somebody monitoring it, and Bruce Wayne is woken up nearby. He asks Brother Eye to show him the onboard camera, and he sees the face of Booster plastered to the seat as they exit orbit. Booster? Batman, are you here? Turn the ship around right now, Booster. Batman, we're chasing an alien who's causing problems. And then they hang up on Batman. And behind him is Selina, giggling to herself. You think this is funny? Absolutely. Stealing Batman's ride is funny. Now tell me, are you mad that they took it, or are you mad that they didn't invite you? None of it matters anyway. I'm badly injured, and I need you waiting on me hand and foot, preferably in nothing but your cape and cowl. Back in space, Lobo arrives holding the unconscious Jaime, presenting him to the client. Jaime wakes up, and the first thing he says is, that is a big chair. That's when we see the person that hired Lobo is Metron, and he wanted the bearer of the Scarab because without his help, there will be no Earth. He explains that the great conqueror Starro has been bound by rage, and his spores will spread his hate across the universe, tearing the cosmos apart. It falls to the bearer of the Scarab to stop him. Metron turns to Lobo. Lobo, I need you to keep Blue Beetle safe. Main man don't work without his pay. There will be pay if you succeed, plus a universe in which to spend it in. Jaime looks at Metron. I might be the wrong guy here. You are the bearer of the Scarab. You are the only guy. The only guy that can stand up against Starro, the conqueror consumed by rage. His spores filled with hate. Every creature his stars touch will be infected. Starro's anger will become theirs, and they will tear themselves apart. But meanwhile, Hal Jordan is still consumed by his red ring, and he flies up with the Red Lantern Corps to attack Oa. His little Jiminy Cricket, Guy Gardner, the manifestation of his guilt as he killed Guy all the way back at the start of this, is talking to him. Hal, you're on your way to attack Oa, and Starro won't stop there. He's gonna move on to Earth. Carol, Hal, you have to save your ex. I know you're pissed off, man. Use that and break free. Hal thinks about it, and then he funnels his anger into that one goal, warning the Guardians of Oa. He screams out, fueled by his hatred at what he's become, and he begins to rocket ahead of the Red Lanterns. Please calls out to Atrocitus that Hal is breaking free, but Atrocitus isn't concerned as he calls out to Starro. The spores break free and they begin to attach to Hal's face, but this isn't the end. This is Hal freaking Jordan, and he punches himself in the face over and over to get the spore off. Then he eventually uses the red ring to blast himself, burning the spore off, and the manifestation of Guy chuckles. I know I'm not real, but I really liked watching you hit yourself. Back over with Sinestro and Soranik, his daughter. She asks why would Atrocitus want Sinestro. He explains that he clashed with him as a Green Lantern and then as a Yellow Lantern. He has experienced casualties. And now that he knows that Soranik is his daughter, he will target you to hurt me. She smirks. Then he doesn't know you. Sinestro, with the serious face of a father who gives a damn, tells her, I would tear this universe apart to keep you safe. On the outside of Oa, Hal comes rocketing in blazing red, and Sade, one of the Guardians of the Universe, tells him to halt. Behind her, a large portion of the Corps is standing there and she traps him in a willpower bubble. He screams out, you have to listen to me! And then he creates a Red Lantern sword to slice open the bubble, and he sucker punches Sade. The manifestation of Guy tells Hal that he needs a new plan. Punching them with rage is not going to convince the man. So Hal realizes he has one option, one way to get a clear head, one way to warn the galaxy, and he cuts his own finger off, severing his connection to the Red. Guy looks at him. It's always amputation with you. And then he calls out, the Red Lanterns have taken! But it's too late, as the Red Lanterns have arrived and Sade realizes what's going on. They have taken Starro the Conqueror. The war between the Red and the Green Lanterns begins. Back on the ship, we have a few more people to get to, and as they get closer to Metron, Lobo crashes into their ship. Connor tells them to open up the bay doors. He'll resolve this, and he floats out into space, except this time, Lobo is prepared and he opens fire on Connor with a kryptonite bullet. This time, though, Cassie's there to block the shot with her bracers. Metron steps up. These people are not our enemies, Lobo. Inside of the ship, Booster asks, who's the Metron guy? Metron is a new god. He holds unparalleled knowledge and understanding of the ending of the universe. He is one of the most intelligent beings in the galaxy. Starfire stops Skeets. Really? Can you hear me out there? Logically, no, but the new gods do not listen to logic. So Starfire calls out, Great Metron, I understand that you are one of the greatest minds in the universe. Yes. Can you turn off the alarm? He waves his hand and it finally shuts off. Oh, thank God. Jaime looks at the Titans. You guys came for me. Connor floats over. What's going on? I'm apparently supposed to save the universe. So Metron explains the situation with Starro, the one with the Red Lanterns, and that the Scarab is the last being that will be able to defeat it. Cassie asks him if he'll be fighting in this war, but Metron informs them that he cannot interfere, but he can teleport them all directly there. Back on Oa, the Lanterns are in a full-on battle, with one of them calling out to Sade to call the other Guardians on the surface, get reinforcements, only to see Sade is controlled by a spore. Hal sees Soranik and he yells out, give me a ring! But she refuses. And while this is raging on, the ship and Metron all teleport right outside of the battlefield. Without hesitation, Lobo, Connor, Cassie, and Starfire all rocket onto the battle. But Booster looks for Jaime and he finds him in the cargo bay hiding. I can't do this, Booster. Yeah, you can. Batman thinks, oh good, that guy. You know what? Batman claims to not have a superpower, but he has the power to fill his fellow heroes with crippling insecurities. Seriously, every Robin gets a pair of tights and an inferiority complex. Kid, look at me. We're going to win, because Ted Kord didn't die for no reason. Jaime looks up. If Ted Kord had lived, we wouldn't be here to save everything. And then Booster looks at Skeets and tells him, play back the important bits from the message that he left me. The hologram of Ted Kord appears before Jaime, and the last message he left Booster Gold plays out. There's this kid, Jaime. He's special. You can see it. He's actually going to be the kind of hero that we always pretended we'd be one day. Hearing that, Jaime puts on his suit and he walks to the door. You ready, kid? No? You going out there anyway? Yep. Also? Booster? Yeah. What Ted said about pretending to be a hero? That was absolute crap. He was a hero. Oh, I know, kid. He was mine. And they head off to save the universe. Now above the planet of Oa, Sade, one of the Guardians, stands with a Starro starfish on her face, looking down on the Green Lanterns. Badge tries to reason with her, but Sade isn't in control as a blast of Green Lantern's might burns away at the little squirrel Green Lantern. Atrocitus looks at the rings, looking for new hosts, telling himself, yes. And Blaze floats over with a worried look on her face as he is basking in the glory that is his victory. Finally, she reports that there are unknown beings approaching, and off in the distance we have the Titans, Superboy, Cassie, and Starfire, followed by Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, and among them, the most shocking appearance of all, Lobo, twirling his chain, riding his space motorcycle. Their first act is to blast Dexter, the Red Lantern Kitty, with heat vision, as Lobo doesn't waste time going right for the main baddie Atrocitus himself. He rides up, reaching out to grab him as the red construct sword goes right through him. He looks off as his bike is riding on its own, and then it dawns on him. A piece of him is still on that bike. He looks right into Atrocitus' face. Some of my favorite things are below the waist. You fragging fragger! And then he begins to punch Atrocitus repeatedly across the jaw. Blue Beetle swoops in, grabbing the upper body of Lobo as Lobo is arguing with him. Bring me back to get my legs and I'll beat him to death with them! Over with Starfire, she's trying to fight off against the Red Lanterns, but realizes the Green Lanterns are being converted by Starro. Everyone realizes they are losing fast as the numbers are being converted. And they all realize that they need to retreat to Oa to figure out a plan. Landing on the planet, they explain that they are here to help. Even Lobo, or what's left of Lobo. Lobo tells him, I'm fine. I heal. It's all grown back already. To which Booster then realizes what's growing back and he's a little grossed out. He looks at the Guardians and he asks, do you guys have pants on this planet? This isn't a time for jokes though, as Starro is powering up and he's focusing his fire at one point. The Green Lantern power battery. Everyone takes off to shield it, to protect it, but Blue Beetle looks up and remembers what he was told. That only he can save the day. Only he can prevent the end of the universe. So he asks Booster, how can he stop that? The fact is, no one can, as it blows through the shields, damaging the battery. Everyone begins to panic as the power battery has now been breached, and they all begin to try to focus their powers to contain it, to seal it, to do anything as it's leaking the power of willpower. Everyone gets ready for another shot from Starro, but Starro oddly begins to leave. Everyone's confused, but they realize he's considering the world conquered. As Hal Jordan steps up, he tells them, give me a ring. We aren't conquered yet. Of course, the Guardians tell him no because of his actions during year 2 of Injustice, when he sided with Superman, fought the Green Lanterns, became a Yellow Lantern, and killed hundreds of Green Lanterns. He snaps at them. Guardians, I'm not looking for another chance or redemption. I know I'm beyond that, but if I'm going to die, let me try to be useful. Let me get between death and those who deserve to live. So against their better judgment, Salak gives Hal a ring again. He suits up, telling everyone, all right, let's get out there. But another Green Lantern tells him, you fight with us. Don't think for a second we're looking for a leader. Up in the science cell, Sinestro calls out though, asking for a ring as well. Everyone says no, but Hal tells them that they could be killed while Salvation is sitting in a cell. Let's give him a ring. That's when Sinestro is powered back up as a Green Lantern. Everyone flies back up into space and the battle begins again with 2 of the greatest Green Lanterns to ever exist aiding in the fight. The first goal is to free as many lanterns as possible, and Connor Kent, aka Superboy, calls out to Cassie telling her, if I get controlled, but she stops him. I'll kick your ass as fast as I can. Such is my love for you. Back with Booster and Blue Beetle, Jaime is sitting there trying to figure out what Starro is doing. Jaime tells Booster that if Starro is fueled by hate, he hates Earth most of all, and therefore, he's going there. So Booster crosses his arms. And you thought you'd stop it alone? I guess. Don't be stupid, kid. You're not stopping a universal threat by yourself. I'm coming with you. Jaime smiles. Thank you. Down in Oa, Lobo has found a towel, and he asks what's going on in space. Salak asks why he's here out in the fight, and Lobo tells him that without his bike, he can't fly. He then lights up a cigar as Salak tells him people are dying. Lobo looks at him, holding yet another ring, and he tells him, you know, I've always wanted to try one of those. Salak looks away, handing him the ring. Lobo of Zarnia, you have the ability to overcome. Yeah, less ceremony, more powers, ring. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps. With that, we have Lobo, the Green Lantern. Hell yeah! Out in front of Oa, Atrocitus looks at a dying Green Lantern as he crushes his throat, simply stating, yes, my plans are working. I'm getting my revenge. The Guardians of the Galaxy are over there trying to protect the destruction of the Green Lantern power battery, as Dexter is spewing napalm on them. Out of nowhere, Lobo kicks the cat! Atrocitus looks at him. You kicked my cat. I'm powered by rage, and you kicked my cat! Lobo grins at him. You get powered by getting angry. Ha! Well, prepare to have more power than you know what to do with, you ugly red bistach. He begins to power up a long object behind his back, because the main man is an expert in pissing people off. The object begins to take form, and folks, let's just say it's something that I and DC Comics can't show or name. But Atrocitus looks at Lobo's very first construct. That. You dare attack Atrocitus with something so obscene! And then the construct goes right through the red shield with the full force of the main man! Damn straight I dare! Beware my power! Green Lanterns! The guilty manifestation of Guy Gardner that is still following Hal Jordan because he killed Guy and he sees him as a guilty representation begins to laugh. Hal asks him, "They gave Lobo a ring?" "Yep." "He just hit Atrocitus with a giant." "Yep, sure, it was obscene and depraved, but it was effective. If he keeps fighting, he's gonna need another Green Lantern to fly alongside him to create big censored signs." Hal and Sinestro get back to fighting, pulling the starfish off of the Green Lantern faces to free them. Hal is about to get blasted by Sade when Sinestro saves him, just confusing him, and the battle rages on. Back over with Booster and Jaime, though, they're blasting full speed to stop Starro. Booster asks him, "Jaime, this chase is admirable and all, but what's the plan when we catch up?" "Honestly, I was kind of hoping we'd work that out when we get there, Booster." Booster looks at Skeets, his robot from the future. "Any information on how we win?" But Skeets can't pull up the information. He begins to glitch out, trying to figure things out. He pauses mid-sentence, and Blue Beetle asks Booster, "What does it mean when a robot pauses mid-sentence?" And Booster tells him, "That's not supposed to happen. That's something machines don't do. It means that we have no set future right now. Anything can happen." That's in a memory. Flashes in Booster's eyes as he was speaking. One where he's panicking, one where he's holding Jaime's hand, one where someone doesn't make it. Jaime goes, "Booster, you just stopped mid-sentence, like machines aren't supposed to do?" Booster looks at everyone and tells them all, "It's all fine. Let's go shape the future." While most of the heroes off-world recoup from their latest battles, down on Earth there's another struggle about to unfold. In the prison facility on Stryker's Island, Anasia Ghul sits in her cell as a guard tells her that she has a visitor today. Alfred walks up holding a tray of food, stating, "Hello, Miss Ghul." But before Alfred could even finish his sentence, his hand gives out and he drops the food all over the ground. He looks at his hand and she tells him that he didn't come back from the Lazarus pit, right, did he? Alfred tells her no, he hasn't been himself. He isn't capable to now. She asks, why is he here? And Alfred smiles, stating that he was here to offer her a nice meal. But he always wanted to just talk and get to know her better. Things like where she grew up and how old is she. She asks, why would he want to talk to her? And Alfred says that he's sorry. Did she have something more pressing on her schedule for the day? The two stare at each other, and she tells him that if they take into account the time that she was dead, she's 16. But why would he care? Alfred smiles, stating that it's because she is Bruce's child, which means they are family. And she yells that Bruce is not her father. He is the antithesis of everything that she stands for and everything that she was raised to believe. Alfred says that he can see how she would believe that, but for what it's worth, he's sorry for the way that she was raised. Her father is a very complicated man. He's far from perfect, but he is not the demon that she believes him to be. Perhaps it is time that Bruce demonstrated just that. Later at Wayne Manor, Bruce and Selena sit down to eat noodles when Alfred walks into the room stating that he's sorry to disturb them, especially when he looks so at ease. Bruce looks up and Alfred goes on stating that he visited the prison today, and Bruce says that he knows. Alfred turns and looks over at the screen stating, "Ah yes, of course, your Brother Eye." Just as Alfred says that, up in space, the Brother Eye satellite, a Brainiac drone is connecting to it, listening in on their conversation. Alfred goes on stating that there's a fine line between creating the most advanced surveillance system and becoming the world's most sophisticated peeping Tom. However, that conversation is for another day. Today he would like to ask a favor, and that is for him to talk to Ra's al Ghul. Bruce looks at Alfred and tells him that Ra's killed thousands, and Alfred says that if all they do is fight, then he will kill again. Millions more. And Bruce says that he must face justice, and Alfred shouts, "Just stop it, I don't feel..." He then collapses, and once Bruce picks him back up, he says that he needs to sit down. His daughter is 16 and has turned into a killer. This is not the legacy the Wayne name deserves. Show her there is a better way. If not for her, then do it for him. Thomas was a doctor. He looked to heal before he looked to punish. Bruce tells him that he needs to reach out to the world leaders and needs an emissary. Someone who can make contact and bridge the gap. A short while later, elsewhere, Harley Quinn lands her jet in the middle of the jungle, stepping off holding a potted olive tree, yelling hello. Seconds later, vines reach out, picking her up by the legs, holding her in the air. Poison Ivy with her gorilla guards asks, "What is that?" And Harley looks at the plant stating, "It's a complicated thought process. I wanted to offer you an olive branch, but then I realized that it would be like handing you a severed limb. Not exactly the right kind of peace offering. So this potted olive tree is an attempted reconciliation." And then a gorilla covers her head with a bag. A short while later, the bag is removed, and as Harley is looking at Ra's al Ghul, she says, "Okay, not what I was expecting. Wait, Orca? Are you pregnant? You're glowing!" Orca blushes, stating that she didn't mean to glow, and Ra's looks at her and then back at Harley, asking, "Why are you here?" She tells him that she's here with a potted plant and a message. Batman would like to speak. He has several world leaders on his side. No tricks, just conversation. Solivar asks, why would they trust Batman? And Harley shrugs, stating, come on, I've been on the wrong side of superheroes many times. One thing they do is not lie. It's a bit boring, really. Roz asks, what does he want from this? And Harley tells him something rare for him. He wants to listen. He wants to demonstrate to his daughter that there's a better way forward. He wants to save the world together. Meanwhile, over in Africa, the Brainiac drone shoots down, and as it begins to scan, it says that this world has evolved in the same way as many others. So basic. The drone holds out his arm, firing a laser at a passing gorilla, stating that they expected more. So much primate life. Just then, Grodd's face appears out of the bushes, and the gorilla asks, who are you calling a primate? This is Grodd's jungle. Metal men are not welcome. Outcasts of Gorilla City, attack! Over in Atlantis, the world's leaders begin to arrive, and as Arthur welcomes everyone, Jefferson tells Mara that he would like to thank Atlantis for hosting this. This is the only neutral ground that has worked for all of the nations and other parties. Mara asks why would they have been invited otherwise? Would they have planned this without including the representatives of 70% of the planet? A voice calls out, of course they would have. And everyone looks over at Ivy, who goes on stating that the leaders of this world have never cared for the planet. They would like to see it burned for their own greed. On the other side, Green Arrow says, right, positive start. So let's just take a seat. As everyone gathers around the table, Jefferson says that the United States would like to make a request before they begin. They have learned that Jackson Hyde has returned to the sea. He must stand trial for the attack on our government. We ask that you turn him over Atlantis. Mara, without any hesitation, tells him no. The surface world poisons our water. Millions of kilometers of ocean are becoming uninhabitable as your destruction continues. And Aquaman says that Jackson's actions were extreme and wrong, but Roz radicalized Aqualad, and Atlantis will deal with him. Your request is denied. Jefferson asks, so there'll be no punishment then? For any crime? And Batman says, Jackson must be extradited to stand trial, as well as Roz for the genocide that he committed. Roz then begins to chime in. What, you have asked me here to be arrested? What a waste of time. As Roz begins to leave, Aquaman reaches out asking him to please put down his ego and stand down. They do not want war with Atlantis. The sea will swallow them. Solivar leans into Aquaman asking, who are you to speak for the Sea Pretender? The last king to sit at the Atlantean throne was no bastard human. Jefferson then begins to charge up his powers, and Harley asks him, water and electricity? Really? Everyone begins arming themselves ready to fight, with Harley asking, red? And Ivy tells her yes. With a snap of her finger, the sea leaves reach out, grabbing everyone, placing them in their seats. And Harley says, okay, everyone needs to calm the hell down. How are you all so bad at diplomacy? Give it 1 month. You all have giant brains. Even the gorillas is huge to accommodate. Just give yourselves 1 month of ceasefire. You won't be able to save the world in an hour-long meeting when everyone is all pissed off. Think of it like a global marriage counseling. Everyone here does have genuine grievances. So how about you put everything on the table? Have you asked Aqualad what he thinks? If he's willing to face judgment for his crimes, maybe we all can. Batman, Roz, Aqualad, all of them should face judgment. Roz looks at Harley stating, you should as well. And Harley tells him, I ain't denying that. But first, how about we talk for a month and stop squabbling? Soon the leaves begin to pull back, and Harley kneels down in front of Solivar stating, see? It's just like marriage counseling. I just made the Earth the children. Solivar says that he has no idea what she's talking about, and Harley asks, don't you have marriage counseling? Solivar tells her that he's a gorilla, and Harley shrugs, stating, decent argument. Back in the jungle, Grodd and his gorilla fight the Brainiac drones. But just before Grodd can finish the attack, the drone grabs him by the neck and flies off into the sky. The drone tells him, not so primitive. You can be useful, but something is holding you back. A wire shoots out of the drone's hand and into Grodd's forehead, and then Brainiac's voice asks, can you hear me with that special little mind of yours? Grodd tells him yes, he can hear, and Brainiac tells him, good. My name is Brainiac, and we will be helping each other from now on. Later that night inside the Gorilla City sewage system, the Suicide Squad makes their way into the tunnels looking for something. Man-Bat says, wow, these sewers smell worse than the human sewers. And Boomerang tells him that if he honestly believes that he's not spending enough time in human sewers. Katana asks Deadshot how far in, and Deadshot asks her, how should I know? And the Katana asks, have you not been here before? And Deadshot tells her, why would I have ever visited the sewers? Man-Bat stops everyone, stating, there, up ahead. And Boomerang then asks, how do you know? Don't you have terrible eyesight? Man-Bat tells him that he has echolocation. It's a frequency inaudible to human ears. And Boomerang then asks, so you're like constantly silently screaming? And Man-Bat tells him yes. And Katana tells him that she can relate. Deadshot then shouts, hey you! Then a second later, Croc pulls himself out of the waters roaring. Deadshot quickly stops him. Whoa, whoa, whoa! We're just here to talk. And Croc says,
Then why did you yell?
and Deadshot says, well, I figured you didn't have any ears. And Croc then asks him,
Why are you here?
and Deadshot tells him, we've all been thinking about you and Orca. Croc then shouts,
Do not think of me and Orca!
and Manbot yells, wow, wow,
In a nice way.
Deadshot tells him, look, I felt bad about giving you a hard time about Orca. Truth is, none of us really have a lot of happiness in our future. But you, somehow you found a way to a new life. Katana says, we spoke to Solivar. From an alpha gorilla, he's actually a bit of a softie. And being a king, he can marry you. Croc pauses.
Why would I want to marry Solivar?
And Deadshot tells him, no, he can marry you and Orca. Boomerang says, just so there's no confusion, Solivar can marry you and Orca together. Solivar would not be joining in your relationship at all. Croc pauses and then says,
Oh!
But while that happens, in another part of the jungle, Grodd leads his outcast towards Gorilla City in the dead of the night, and then stops everyone. One of the guards asks, what is it? And Grodd says that there are 2 sentries on the hill up ahead. He can feel their minds. The guard says that if they raise the alarm, Solivar will know that they're coming. He'll prepare his defenses but Grodd stops him, taking the guard's spear, telling him that he won't raise an alarm. A few moments later, up in the hill, the 2 sentries spot Grodd, and as the smaller of the 2 points, the older one tells him to go and warn the others. The smaller one tries to run, but he can't move. A second later, the spear is thrown into the older gorilla's chest, and Grodd walks up to the smaller one, telling him
Tolivar was old, set in his ways, would never recognize my rule. But you, Ordover, you are young, and remember I can read your mind. Do you accept the new alpha? Do you submit to Grodd?
Odover struggles to move and tells him, of course, my king. Meanwhile, over by the lakes, Orca asks Croc why they're here. Are they gonna go hunting? And Croc tells her,
No, there's something I wish to ask you.
Orca says that he will be the father of her child. He ate a sentient gorilla for her. He can ask her anything. The 2 begin to walk, and Croc looks up at the window, and he sees the entire Suicide Squad staring at him, all giving him a thumbs up. Kinda ruins the mood. So he takes Orca by the hand, telling her not here, and the 2 walk into the lake. As they submerge, a few moments later, Croc kneels on one knee, and the 2 burst out of the water, holding each other and smiling. Deadshot watches, stating, wow, this is the single most beautiful nature documentary I've ever seen. And Boomerang laughs, telling him, I can practically hear the old British guy narrating the whole thing in a calm, dulcet tone. Manbot begins to cry, stating that he has stopped, silently screaming. And Katana tells him that they all have. The next day, while Orca gets ready for her ceremony, Ivy watches and says that she did not see this coming. Orca tells her, yeah, having bombs placed in their head, being forced to do the bidding of a genocidal maniac, and having been transformed into an actual killer whale, she'd say that marriage really didn't seem like it was next in the cards. A short while later, flowers are thrown as Orca says I do, and Croc and Orca leave. And Deadshot whispers, hey, you owe me. Croc tells him that he knows, and Deadshot tells him, no, not for the marriage thing, for the ceremony. Solivar wanted to do it the traditional gorilla way. I saved you from having to learn the correct ooks. Croc laughs, telling him,
You're not such a bad guy.
And Deadshot tells him, actually, I'm the worst. One half-decent act doesn't change that. Now off you go, lovebirds. As the 2 begin to leave the compound, Orca and Croc see Roz standing there, and he looks at them. And he holds up the tablet, but the brain bomb switches. Croc growls, asking what is this, and Roz tells him that it's not what it looks like. I didn't mean to concern you with this. Orca shouts, you didn't mean to concern us with the device that will blow up our heads? And Roz tells them no. I don't know what the future holds, but the sliver of hope that I have is that we can find a better way of working alongside the detective to help better the world. But humanity's greed has always ruined hope in the past. My grandchildren are gone. My daughter has fled. I swore I'd make a better world for them, and I have failed. It would be hypocritical and soulless of me to ignore the new life that you are bringing into this world. That is why, when the war comes, I will give you the choice if you want to fight. You have a child, a new species. Your existence will not be threatened by me. Roz taps the pictures of Orca and Croc, and a second later the words deactivated appear on the screen. And Orca asks him, just like that? You enslaved me, enslaved the man that I love? I've lived in constant fear of the threat that you pose to me and the child within me? You think that I'm gonna be grateful for your benevolence? We're apex predators. You think that our happy ending is walking away from the prey that turned us into this? As Orca and Croc step forward, Roz holds out his arm, stating, no, stay back, no! Croc roars, and a second later, Roz's arm holding the tablet falls to the ground. Roz begins to scream, but Orca places her finger on his lips, telling him, shh. And as Croc wipes the blood from his mouth, he says, you've been resurrected so many times. Your flesh tastes rotten, but I will put up with a bit of decay to eat your miserable. And a voice calls out,
There is no need for that.
Grodd and his outcast surface from the water, and as Grodd picks up the tablet, he says,
I will finish up here.
Orca turns, getting ready to fight, but Grodd tells her, leave, now. And Croc says,
What will happen to him?
and Grodd tells him,
It doesn't matter. You're not a part of this anymore. There's nothing left here for your family. Try and fight me and you will be dead within seconds.
a few moments pass of awkward silence, and Grodd says,
You haven't left.
and Croc asks him,
What about the rest of the squad?
Grodd tells him,
They will die.
and Croc tells Orca,
I'm sorry, but I ain't gonna let that happen.
Croc begins to open up his mouth, and Orca shouts for him to wait. And then Orca says, the Suicide Squad could be useful to you, Grodd. You have a means of controlling them now. Don't waste that resource. Grodd says,
How pragmatic. You're right, of course. Your friends will be mine, and they will live. There is no better outcome.
Croc growls, stating,
Suppose not.
Orca holds up Roz by the face, telling him, this is it. He's bleeding. His sick dream is dying all around him, and our child will grow up in a world without him. Orca gives Roz to Grodd and then takes Croc by the hand, stating, this is their happy ending. In the middle of the day, there's a rumble that shakes the White House, knocking out its staff, leaving them scattered across the hall. As Ollie checks on one of the bodies, Dinah asks if she, and Ollie tells her no, they're still alive, all of them. Then it occurs to Dinah, and she yells, we have to get to the president! Ollie runs up to the Oval Office, and as he swings open the doors, he's hit in the chest with something. Dinah tries to see what it is, but she too is hit and falls to the ground. A voice from behind the desk says, if you hurt them, there's gonna be trouble. And another voice tells the person that the chair they sit in does not belong to them. As the chair spins around, a little girl starts giving her evil laughter, and the little boy Archer says, Mwahaha? The other girl says that she's pretty sure the shape-shifting usurper would not say Mwahaha. And the girl sitting in the chair says, well, this shape-shifting usurper does say Mwahaha. And since you can't stroke a cat, this pillow will have to do. His name is Mittens. Mittens the pillow. And just then, Jefferson opens up the door, telling the kids, all right, I'm gonna need the country back now. And Anissa, what's that rumble? Anissa tells her father that it was only a little one. But Jefferson says that he specifically said no powers inside. If she's gonna knock down the White House, that will come out of her allowance. Jefferson looks back and asks Ollie and Dinah if they're okay, and the two lean back up, asking, are we done being shapeshifters yet? Harley then leans over the couch, asking if she's still Speaker of the House. And Jefferson asks, would you like to stay as one? And Harley says, ew, no. A few moments later, one of Jefferson's aides walks up and whispers that he's needed in the Situation Room. And as he walks in, he asks Chairman Lane what he's looking at. Lane points to the screen, stating that that is the image they took moments ago. Jefferson asks, are they worried about the people walking through the jungle? And Lane tells him, no, these tracks are not human, they are apes. The image then changes to one of a gorilla sentry that has been killed. And Lane says that what they are looking at is possibly the beginning of a coup in Gorilla City. Over in Gorilla City, Solivar and his son sleep, and as his son sleeps, he begins to hear a voice in his head calling out to him. The son follows the voice, and as he goes outside, Grodd says,
yes, come to me, and then we shall wake your father.
Back in the Situation Room, Lane goes over the satellite images, stating that they presume, based on the Atlantis meeting, Roz might be working with Solivar out of Gorilla City. They understand that there is a ceasefire and a diplomatic solution being sought, but this is their chance. They can remove two threats that not only affect America, but the entire world. Jefferson closes his eyes and thinks for a moment, but tells Lane, no, we will not, just monitor the situation. A few moments later, as Jefferson returns to the office, Dinah asks what was that about, and Jefferson tells her it's a false alarm. Ollie says they called him into the Situation Room for a false alarm, and Harley says that she may be the imaginary member of this government, but that sounds pretty unlikely. Jefferson tells them all not to worry about it, we're the kids. And Dinah watches the kids go through the window, stating that they're out on the lawn saving the world. And as it turned out, Mittens the Pillow was the true evil all along. Ollie looks out, smiling, stating, look at them. Those kids could grow up and save the world someday. And Jefferson sternly tells him, no, I don't want that. They shouldn't have to be heroes. They're children. Our job is to protect them, to give them opportunities. They shouldn't have to bear our burdens or deal with our mistakes. We do the hard, dirty work, so the children don't have to. We act like adults, so the kids don't have to save it. Meanwhile, over at Wayne Manor, Alfred makes a phone call, and on the receiving end, the man asks Al. Alfred tells the man, you know, you're the only people who call me that. And the man says that it's been too long. And Alfred says he knows and he's sorry. He died. The man tells him, right, that'll do it. Alfred tells him, I'm not calling for a chat, I'm afraid. I'm going away and I need you to look after something. The man asks what, and Alfred tells him, Bruce, I need you to look after him, please. On the other end, Jonathan Kent tells him, of course, we'll look over your boy. Alfred smiles, telling him, thank you. You've all been such wonderful friends. Goodbye. But over in Gorilla City, the gorilla calls out to sound the alarm. Grodd has. But before he can finish, he's hit with a spear and he falls off his post. While Grodd's gorillas charge the city, Grodd tells Roz not to bleed out on him. He wants him to see this, that the gorillas are not a means to his end. They are not his pets. They are his betters. As Grodd lands, vines reach out, grabbing Roz from him, and Deadshot yells, "Hey! You have to the count of 3 to turn your monkey butt around. 1, 2, and as Deadshot lifts his arm and aims, Grodd telepathically tells him not to shoot. Boomerang waits for a second and then asks, did you forget what number comes next?" And Deadshot tells him, "No, I can't shoot." Man-Bat jumps out of the shadows, but before he can attack, Grodd taps the image of him with the Brain Bomb tablet, and Boomerang says, "Oh no." A second later, Man-Bat's head explodes and his body falls back to the ground. Grodd shouts to the Suicide Squad that they belong to him now, and Ivy says that they need to leave, but Roz tells her they can't. They only have one chance, come quickly. Solivar then jumps down before Grodd, stating that he should not have returned. There will be no mercy this time, him and his followers. And Grodd sneers back, stating that mercy was his mistake. Further proof that he is not fit to lead Gorilla City. I am sorry your son had to see you so weak. Grodd releases a telepathic signal, and as Solivar's son walks up, he says that his mind is back, and Grodd tells him it is, and his mind is in his son's. Solivar then asks, what now? And Grodd says he will die. Solivar then asks, what about his son? And Grodd tells him that he will live, as long as he accepts his fate. Read my mind. Solivar links to Grodd, and he says that he can hear Grodd stating that he promises his son will live. And with that, Solivar feels something. Someone else's mind, and he asks, Who? Who have you been talking to? What have you done, Grodd? Grodd tells Deadshot to fire, and a second later there's a bang, and Solivar's shot in the head. Meanwhile, over at Wayne Manor, Brother Eye tells Bruce that there is an incoming transmission from Ra's al Ghul. Bruce says put him on the screen, and suddenly Ra's appears yelling, Detective! He's here! Grodd is! But before he can finish, Grodd telepathically tells him to come back. As Ra's struggles, he says Grodd is in his head. Bruce calls out for Ra's, but as Ra's walks away, he tells Bruce, Save the world for my grandchildren. As Grodd sits on his throne, he tells Ra's, This is it. Your time is over. Kneel before Grodd. Ra's lowers himself and Grodd holds out his arm, telling him, Place your head into my hand. Ra's tries to fight back, but his body starts to move on its own, placing his head into the palm of Grodd. Without saying a word, Grodd squeezes, and there's a loud scrunch as blood sprays all over him. Back at Wayne Manor, Bruce runs through the halls, calling out to Alfred. And when he finally finds him, he sees Alfred with his luggage standing at the door. Alfred tells him, Don't worry, I wasn't going to leave without saying goodbye. Bruce asks, Where are you going? And Alfred tells him, I can't say. You can probably find me, but I'm asking you, please don't. Bruce asks him, Why? And Alfred says because he can't help him. He isn't right. Not since the Lazarus pit. There are parts still missing. Every day it's a struggle. These words are so much effort. He died, and he never really came back. Bruce tells him, You can't. It's possible Roz may have been killed. Peace talks have started. I need you here. And Alfred tells him, I know, but I'm not all here. I can't be in the house and see how much I'm needed every day. I cannot be a burden for you. Alfred grabs his bags and he begins to walk out, and Bruce follows, telling him, This is ridiculous. You're not a burden. Alfred turns back, telling him, I refuse to be looked after. My job was to look after you because someone had to. It was my duty and my honor. Despite your obvious flaws, you are one of the greatest men who has ever lived. What you and your friends did for the planet. Alfred hugs Bruce, telling him, By looking after you, I got to look after the world as well. You are my savior and my son. As Alfred lets go, Bruce tells him, Wait. And Alfred tells him, I loved you. And he gets into the taxi. Alfred says, This is goodbye, Bruce. And all Bruce can hear is the engine of the taxi as it takes off and it leaves. Justice 2 has been an incredible ride, and with everything that has happened, Bruce takes a moment to work on the Brother Eye system. As he sits down under the computer going through the connection, Selina asks if he's going to stay under there all day. He tells her, Well, Brother Eye is a glitch. Selina asks if it's an actual glitch or are you just looking to do something after, well, Alfred left. Bruce rolls out from under the computer telling her that it's a real glitch. I just can't figure out what's causing it. She laughs, telling him, Oh, that's good, because you wouldn't want your all-seeing, all-knowing AI to not be working properly. Regardless, you should get some outside help on this. You can't fix everything. Just say the word and I can track. Bruce stops her and tells her, no. Alfred made me promise to not go looking for him, and I will respect his decision. Selina sighs, telling him, okay, but hopefully something disastrous will happen that needs your immediate attention so you can stop fussing with that computer. Just then, Brother Eye announces that there's an issue at the prison. Someone is trying to get to Superman's cell. Bruce asks, what are we dealing with? How many? And Brother Eye tells him that there are 4 advanced androids that appear to have advanced strength, the ability to levitate, and offensive laser capabilities. Also, there's a woman with a pie. A few moments later, outside of Superman's prison, Martha Kent stands there, holding a pie. She says, hello, Bruce. And Bruce tells her, I'm sorry, but no one sees Clark. Martha then asks, despite everything that's happened, do you really think that there's any chance Clark would harm his mother? Bruce tells her, no, but you still can't. She walks past him, telling him, I don't really care how many supervillains you've stood in the way of. You will not stand in my way. You don't get to control everything, young man. As Martha continues to walk, Selina heads inside with Martha, asking if there's any way that she can teach her how to talk to him like that. And while the two of them leave, Jonathan Kent leans out of the window of his truck as the 4 Eradicators set it down, stating, don't feel bad. There's no stopping her. Sometimes the immovable object meets the unstoppable force, and the immovable object has some sense and takes a little step to the side. Bruce asks, you're not going to go inside with her? And Jonathan tells him, no. Bruce says, I understand. But Jonathan reaches over to the passenger side, opening the door, telling him, I doubt it. Get in. Bruce tells him, I'm sorry, but there's other things that require my... Jonathan looks back at Bruce and he tells him, get in the damn car. We're going to get a drink. But for this to make more sense to you, we need to go back 8 years to the Wayne refugee fundraiser in Gotham. Bruce was meeting with different individuals in Gotham when he spots Selina among the crowd. He tells her that he didn't see her name on the guest list, and Selina says that he mustn't be very observant. She whispers to him, not here, on the roof. But before they could leave, Bruce is shot in the shoulder. She catches him and she sets him down, and Bruce tells her, the shot came from up southwest window, go! She tears her dress off, throwing her heels, and runs to the stairs. She jumps out the window to follow the shooter. And just as Deadshot gets ready to pull out his rifle, Selina jumps on him, sending him to the ground. Deadshot starts to get up, asking, what the hell? I'm not sure what you're up to, but I try to only kill the people that I'm paid to kill. He then takes out a high-voltage stun gun, shocking the water, electrocuting Selina as she stands barefoot in the puddle. A short while later in Metropolis, Lois runs into Clark's office and begins closing the blinds so that no one can see. Clark tells her a newly married couple closing the blinds on an entire newsroom isn't exactly going to go unnoticed when these people are professionally suspicious. Lois turns back and says that she's got word. Bruce Wayne's been shot. He's currently in surgery in Gotham Central. Clark starts to ask what about, and Lois kisses him as she takes off his glasses, telling him, go. Seconds later, in Bruce's hospital room, Clark climbs through the window and asks Nightwing how's he doing. Bruce speaks for him, telling him, it doesn't really suit Superman to come in through the window in the dead of the night. Nightwing says that he's just frustrated. He's gonna blame it on the morphine. Bruce then leans back, stating, it's not the morphine. I trained to function normally through painkillers. And Clark laughs, stating, of course you have. He takes Bruce's hand and he says, you gave us a real scare. But for a moment, Bruce hesitates and he smiles back, stating, I'm okay. Really. As Selina and Alfred come in, Clark asks Nightwing how safe is he, and Nightwing says that Oracle has gotten everyone set up in the surrounding buildings and streets. Clark asks what seems to be the motive, and Alfred tells him that Master Wayne has been receiving death threats over his refugee charity. And Selina adds, which he kept secret. She goes on stating that the shooter was Deadshot. Assuming Bruce was wearing a vest underneath, he aimed for the shoulder and the armpit. Deadshot is expensive, so whoever wanted Bruce dead was willing to pay top dollar. They're not going to stop until they do. Bruce asks, you don't think that I could take care of myself? And Clark says, Batman could take care of himself, but Bruce Wayne is as mortal as anyone else. He thinks on it and he says, we need to bring Bruce somewhere that's more remote, safe. Selina asks, like the Batcave? And Clark smiles, no, more like a fortress. A short while later, over in Smallville, Clark introduces Bruce, Selina, and Alfred to Jonathan and Martha, and the two of them welcome them into their home. Jonathan reaches out to grab the suitcases from Alfred, stating that he can take care of that. And Alfred tells him that he can manage. Martha then says that they have a spare room set up for Alfred, but she's not sure about the other sleeping arrangement. Clark's room is ready, but it might be a little snug if there's two of them. Not that that ever appeared to be an issue for Clark's friend Lana, as she used to sleep in after dark. Clark shouts, Ma! And Selina tries to hold back her laugh. A few days later, over in Metropolis, Clark lands on the roof of the Daily Planet asking Lois what she's learned. Lois tells him that it's a white supremacist cell of Intergang with a sizable war chest. They were very happy about Bruce's charity events. Clark asks why would they do this, and Lois says because they're Nazis. They don't want people who look different from them coming into our country. Clark sighs, stating, I will never understand them. And Lois smiles, stating she knows. That's one of the many reasons that she keeps him around. She almost has enough to bring down Intergang, but their hit squad will still be operating independently if we take out the organizers. We have to flush them out. Back in Smallville, Bruce steps out onto the porch of Jonathan. Jonathan says, there's no stars like this in Gotham. Can't sleep? Bruce tells him, I tend to sleep strange hours. And Jonathan says, I'm a bit of a night owl myself. My father worked nights. Maybe it's genetic. How about yours? Bruce tells him that he doesn't have a father. He died. Jonathan then asks, who was that man trying to stop us from taking our bags then? You've got it, Dad. You're just bad at letting it go. Bruce says that he appreciates them allowing him to stay. And Jonathan tells him, it's not the first time that Clark's brought hurt things here. All kinds of critters. Dogs, birds, frogs, bats. Bruce looks at Jonathan, telling him, he told you. And Jonathan says, Clark? Absolutely not. The boy would take a secret to the grave. He's as loyal as they come. He just doesn't have very many friends that we don't know about. Not friends that he would bring to the house, that is. We just put two and two together. Clark would have mentioned if he was friends with Bruce Wayne, but he talks about Batman all the time. Honestly, Clark may be able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, but he believes that Batman can walk on water. I shouldn't be saying this, but I'd take a guess that Batman is Clark's hero. 2 weeks later, back in Gotham, Bruce sits in the limo, and Alfred says that he really has to question this method. Is he just going to drive him around, brooding, waiting until they attack? Bruce tells him, I'm pretty sure it won't take them that long to strike, if it makes you feel better. And Alfred says, no, that's hardly comforting, sir. A few seconds later, Diablo jumps out in front of the limo and blows it up. Bruce coughs as he gets up, and Deadshot points his gun down, telling him, I'm not going to screw it up from here. Just then there's a loud bang, and Batman appears behind them, telling Deadshot that he's right where he wanted him. There's a quiet tink as the bullet falls, and Deadshot looks back at Bruce, asking, what the? Bruce pulls open his shirt, revealing an S, and the two heroes get to work. A little while later, on top of the Daily Planet, Clark says that Amanda Waller personally took the group into custody. And Lois says that that's it then. Intergang's operation will be done once she publishes everything that she's got. It's pretty expensive too. Business leaders, a few politicians. Bruce asks, who are they? And Lois tells him, as long as you've got a subscription to the Daily Planet, you can read about it in the morning. Bruce shakes Clark's hand and he says, thank you, both of you, I won't forget this. Now, we go back to the current day, and the doors to Clark's cell opens up, and he asks, Ma? She sets the pie down as she hugs her son, telling him, it's okay. You can hug me back. You can't hurt me. As Martha wipes her eyes, Clark sits down asking, how is it out there? And Martha says that it's getting along okay without him. But she's sure that if he would come to his senses, it'll need his help one day. Clark then asks, Pa? And Martha says that she knows his father. He's arguing with a billionaire about who's about to buy the drinks. And over in a small bar, Bruce says, trillionaire actually. Jonathan takes off his jacket, telling him, good for you. It's still my round. Alfred asked me and Martha to take care of you. As Jonathan hands Bruce his beer, he leans back and he says, I always go here for a very frank and honest conversation. I'm betting Batman doesn't get a lot of hard truth directed his way. It's a lot of combination of running into the shadows when he doesn't like something and intimidating everyone else. Martha and me raised the most powerful man in the world. We used to have to set boundaries for a teenager that could turn a mountain into dust. Batman doesn't scare me. So how's it going? And be honest. Bruce tells him, it's been difficult, trying to save the world from itself without, and Jonathan finishes, without overstepping, without resorting to what Clark did. Did he come to you? And Bruce asks, after Lois? Yes. Jonathan then asks, did he ask for help? And Bruce says, in a way. Jonathan says, right. But you didn't help him. Bruce tells him, he murdered someone in cold blood, and what he's done since. Jonathan stops him, telling him, I'm not talking about what he's done after. I'm talking about what happened that day. Bruce tells him again, he took a life. And Jonathan tells him, yes, men should be punished for the wrong that they do. I'm as stubborn and prideful as anyone, but I'm not condoning what Clark did. But this isn't about what's right and wrong. It's about holding an impossible man to an impossible standard. Clark is as human as anyone else. He doesn't need forgiveness. He just needs his friend to understand. Clark is far gone, but you may need to set aside your grievances one day. Bruce asks, could he? And Jonathan tells him, I'm as disappointed and angry at Clark as anyone else, but the town that he came from was too small for grudges. When it's all said and done, I'm not so sure the planet's that much bigger. When your parents are killed, in that moment, if you had a chance, would you have killed the murderer? Bruce tells him, I was a child. And Jonathan says, they're all children. Later, back in the prison, Bruce stands in front of Clark's cell and Clark asks, do you do this silent treatment with everyone that you put away? No wonder most go mad. Bruce doesn't respond and Clark asks, is the world better with me in here? Has it gotten better? Bruce tells him, we're free. And then Clark says, has that freedom come with less death, less war, less conflict? And Bruce doesn't answer, and Clark says, I'll take that as a no. After a few moments, Bruce takes off his mask, and he tells him, I don't think I ever said, I'm sorry, about Lois. Clark stares for a moment, and then he grits his teeth, telling him, don't. But Bruce goes on, I'm sorry that I wasn't there. I should have been better. I can't say for certain that the world is better with you in there, but I do know that it would have been a better place if Lois was a part of it. And with that, Bruce puts on the mask, and he leaves. And there you have it, all of the Injustice stuff, well, main timeline stuff, right here at Comicstorian Full Story. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be bringing you more full stories from the Comicstorian main channel very soon.